Hello, hockey world. Welcome to the Pucking Around podcast. This is episode 65, if, if I remember correctly. Sorry, I'm on my own right now, so just waiting on. Got a couple late calls, so yeah, you guys are stuck with me for the next few. I don't know, 15, 20, half an hour. We'll see where this goes, but yeah. So tonight's live stream is pretty much we're going to be tackling the playoffs. Basically, now most of the matchups seem to be set, and yeah, so we're gonna try and figure out, I guess, give our predictions, give our opinions on who we think might, win each round, whatever. We know there's a couple more that still have to be decided. Like Montreal obviously hasn't clinched yet. They could, if my Flyers beat the Columbus Blue Jackets, Montreal clinches. But I don't know. I'm on Team Tank, so hopefully Columbus wins. I don't know how much those Montreal fans will love that, but whatever. We'll take it from there.
You shut your whole mouth.
Yo, Matt, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, what's going on, peeps?
Not bad, brother. Not bad. I just tackling this on my own right now, and yeah, good to see you here, buddy.
Yeah, bro. There we go. Much better.
Matt, man, what about Demidov, buddy?
Dude, Davidoff's filthy, bro. That goal was so sick.
Oh, that was nice. You see, like, he faked the shot and then just pulled it. Oh, beauty.
Yeah, dude.
That was so sick. But yeah, no, that was I like, you know what? I'm like, yesterday I was like, oh, let me watch this game. Let's see, let's see what's going on. And man, I gotta say, man, I'm pretty impressed. Pretty impressed. Really good. Really good first game by the Rook. What'd you think, buddy?
Yeah, no, man. I mean, obviously it's his first game, so I was expecting him to have an impact. Obviously, I didn't want to set the bar too high or anything for him. It's his first game. He's got to get used to North American ice, but fucking A, 6 minutes into the first period and he already showed off while he was the fifth overall pick. I mean, starting with the assists, I mean, the way, and I mentioned this too in the stream last night on Talking Habs, but like the way that he gets down and drops that center of gravity makes him so balanced. Like it makes him so hard to knock off the puck. And you combine that with how quick his hands are, like he made a nice move to go. I forget the defenseman who was on it, but to go around him to feed Newhook in front, and then, I mean, just the insanely quick hands on the goal to go to corral it and go forehand to backhand into the net that quick. Like you can't teach that.
No, it was nuts. That was very impressive. And in all honesty, I got a question for you. How many goals do you think Newhook should have had last night?
Oh, probably a couple.
It's like, wow, I was watching that game and it's like just setup after setup and missed opportunities. Yeah. I was like, oh, this was gonna bite them in the ass. But you know what? Hopefully my Flyers can help you out tonight, but we'll see. We'll see.
I hope so.
Because then what? When are you guys playing Carolina? Thursday?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow night. Okay, so well, look, hey, all you guys need is a point, right? So it's doable.
Yeah. So I I mean, obviously you want to win, but I mean, if it's to a point where you're gonna have to, go to OT, like that's fine.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like I'm totally cool with it. But hopefully we can watch that game stress free if you do your job tonight.
Well, you know what? I'm on Team Tank, so the 2 points doesn't do us any favors. So we need that fourth pick. So, but we could lose. It'd be better for us. But hey, we'll see. We'll see how things shake out.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Let's check. Are the Bruins playing tonight? Oh, they are. They're playing New Jersey.
Yeah, Bruins got the Devils.
Yeah, so that should be interesting.
Jet Greaves against Sam Ersson. Oh, you guys. As long as Sam Ersson remembers how to goalie, should be all right.
He probably is the better option. So
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause Kolosov, he didn't look too great in his start a couple games ago there. And now I don't know if you
Yeah,
heard,
no,
but
Kolosov's got. I mean, there's definitely some problems there.
yeah, because I don't know if you heard now there was a report saying that the kid might just want to go back to Russia and he's done with the Flyers. So
Yeah,
we
I was kind of reading about that.
yeah, we touched on it a little bit in on Flyer gonna Flyer and oh, it was a report that was out there by someone on their podcast and honestly, I have not heard anything since. I have not heard anybody else report anything about it, so I don't know. Again, I didn't listen to that podcast where it was said, so I don't know if he was just making speculation or if it's actual fact. But hey, we'll see. Hey, Flyers might
Oh,
lose a
for sure,
goaltending prospect, but you know, I would suck.
for
But
sure, for sure.
uh, well, let's check this out. Okay, let's look at the standings right now. Uh, so right now, you guys, if you make it, you guys would be playing Toronto. No, sorry,
Washington,
Washington. Washington. All
Washington.
right. Now I know Washington's going through they have a couple injuries right now. So like, how
They
comfortable are
do.
you?
I mean, Washington still. I mean, they're I think the second best team points wise in the league. I mean, again, I don't expect to win that series, but I think it'll be a good series. I think maybe 6 or 7 game series because I don't think this Habs team is a team. I know the last couple games haven't really played the best just in terms of getting shots on goal, but I still think they're a hard out. You know what I mean? Like I feel
Oh yeah.
like they can still put up a hell of a really good fight and you know even if we do get eliminated, like the playoff experience for a lot of the younger guys, especially like Demidov, Lane Hudson, like it's invaluable, right? And
Mm,
so I'm hoping we make it. And yeah, I mean, regardless, again, I've said it for a couple weeks. Like even if we don't make it, I'm still very happy with this season. Like it's still a huge leap in the rebuild, and the fact that we're on the cusp of the playoffs is just incredible to me. And again, testament to the job that the management's done, Ken Hughes and Jeff Gorton since they came in. I mean, it's just been phenomenal. I mean, I really think this will, the way that they kind of went about rebuilding the Montreal Canadiens, I think will be a blueprint for future rebuilds.
oh yeah, for sure. No, they did it right. They did it right. But what also helped them and what I think is like what they did right also like compared to what some other teams done is they already had like a little bit of a base when they started their
Right.
rebuild, right? Because they already
Yeah, I
had
mean, we
Suzuki.
had, Suzuki, Caulfield were already there, Gooley was there.
Exactly, you know?
Um, and again, I mean, that's, you could say that they did have a bit of a head start in that retrospect, but,
Mm,
I think, there's still a lot of pieces missing at the time. And the fact that they were able, I think they've had three drafts now. And, the fact that they've pulled guys like Lane Hudson out of the end of the second round,
oh, what a steal.
Demidov last year at 5th overall, Jacob Fowler, I think, who was in the second round. Guys that are going to be studs at this level, and the fact that they've really, for the most part, again, we can go on and on about the Reinbacher pick and whatever. Like, it doesn't bother me. I still think that he can pan out to be really good defenseman, but
Mm,
other guys like you look at Owen Beck and just other picks that they've really just hit home runs on. And even Michael Hayes too last year.
mm,
It's not just that they, were picking in good areas, but they really, the scouting department really did their jobs well. I mean, just so many really, really good, solid, just home run esque, type picks, and also trades, right? I mean,
mhm.
obviously like Kirby Doc one, I don't think is gonna work out, but again, that was at the time worth the risk. And again, he's making under 4 million now. It's it is what it is. Whatever happens, happens. I think he's only got 1 year left. Um, again, I look at the line A trade. I mean, adding that presence on the power play. Bringing in. Obviously, he didn't play full season because of the knee injury, but I think you can pencil him in for 35, 40 goals a season, even where he is now. I still think that talent's there. The shot's definitely there. I think picking up, the veteran and Carrier, I think is been one of the most underrated trades of this season. Like seriously, I mean, having him in to really kind of calm down the right side and solidify that and be, safe in his own end has been just amazing. It's allowed the Canadiens to really, adapt and really put into practice the defensive system that Marty St. Louis wants to play. I mean, I
Mm.
think, and I don't think that trade gets talked about enough. I mean, it was such an important trade. Um, and yeah, I mean, I just think, yeah, in general, just everything they've really done has damn near turned to gold. I mean, even
Oh,
bringing in Newhook, like I think Newhook, while probably not a top 6 guy, I think he's a solid third
mm.
liner. I think on any team, and I think I don't really. I think we had to give up a first and something else for him, but at the end of the day, like that doesn't bother me because I think he's only 23, I think 24, so he's still got plenty, tons of time left. He's still developing, so it's yeah, they've just done such a great job. I
Oh
mean,
no,
really there's nothing that they've done that I can really complain about. I,
oh
it's
look, they did exactly what a rebuilding team should be doing, and look, they weaponized their cap space. They took on players and got paid for it. And look, when opportunity comes, you got to take it. Like you said with the Kirby Doc trade, if you're a rebuilding team, you take that chance every time. Like,
right, and
oh,
again, I think with what we had in the system at the time on the back end, and obviously come to what we've drafted now. I don't think Romanov is really going to have a spot on this team, and I know Rick's kind of echoed that sentiment a lot
mm,
when we talk about it. So I think at the time, I think it made a lot of sense.
oh yeah,
And
plus,
looking at the defense the way it is now, I mean, you could tell. I mean, Romanov just didn't have a place.
oh yeah, 100%. Plus,
And
like,
again, I loved bringing in a guy like Newhook. I think he's one of the fastest players in the league. I mean, he's so quick.
mm,
And having speed like that, really anywhere in your lineup is critical. Um, and on both sides of the ice, and I just think, again, that Carrier trade to solidify the right side and really calm things down was tremendous. I wish Justin Barron all the best. I think he's a good kid, but
mm,
at the end of the day, just he wasn't cutting it. He had, I know he's really kind of picked his game up now a little bit with Nashville, but that just wasn't going to happen here. And again, that was an A+ move, I think, if you ask me, bringing Carrier in. Like I said, I mean, I could go on and on. It's just they've done just such a great job, in all
yeah, no, yeah,
facets, and even the contracts, like locking up the core guys, Slavkovsky, Suzuki, Gooley, and Cole Caulfield to under $7.9 million each, right, for the next. I think Gooley is 6 years, and the big three guys are like another 7 or 8, all making I think 7.8 and 7.7. I think for Slav. It's just incredible, especially with the way the cap's going to go up. Like,
mm.
just incredible.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. I know, but like you were saying, like with Carey, that was I think that was a steal of a trade. That was just a
I mean, it
steal
really
of a trade.
was.
And
I
personally,
remember.
I just quick. I got a
Yeah.
question right now. Like I'm like, I know we've been to a lot of Habs, but just in like it's a league podcast. I got a question like towards Trotz's like what he's done as a GM like lately, like the past couple of years, like like he's made some questionable moves and some questionable like it looked good and everything like this offseason when he did those made those signings.
Yeah, it
But
just
like
hasn't panned out, right? But I think going into the season, I think we all kind of thought he did a pretty decent job. I mean, it just so happened it didn't work out on the ice. And then I don't again I still don't know what happened with the Carrier trade.
it's
From what I
weird.
know, I guess he thought he was getting someone else. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. But I remember when that trade broke. Rick and I had actually just finished recording Hab Normals, and I looked down at my phone and I went, "Holy crap! We just traded Justin Barron." He was like, "What for? Who?" And I go, "Alex Carrier." And we looked at his stats and we're like, "All right, what's going on here? Like something's got to be up. There's no way this is just one for one." And I think at the time, Carrier had like an upper body thing, but I mean, it
Mm,
wasn't keeping him out at all. Like he was going to be, in the Habs next game whenever he got here. And we were like, is there anything else? And we're looking at his stats and we're going, how did this even happen? And then like within the next couple days, it kind of came out that somewhere in the Predators scouting staff, somewhere somebody messed up and I don't know, I guess they thought they were getting someone else.
Okay. So
Again, I don't know if what's 1,000% true and what's not, but at the end of the day, like I think Kent Hughes, when he heard Justin Barron's name, called the car to take him to the airport. I mean, just again, I don't know what the Predators were thinking, but
yeah,
I
because
mean,
it was really
it was just such a great trade.
wow.
I'm
Really,
very
really
happy with the way he's played. He's made some great play, and he's steady, right? Like you're not going to notice him a lot, but he does his job, right? He's good on his skates. He's good at cutting down angles. Really good with his defensive stick. He does a great job at taking away passing lanes. Great stick checking. Yeah, just a hell of a trade. Really.
Did I just join at a good time, gentlemen?
oh, perfect time. Perfect
Yeah.
time.
Apologies on the delay. I had family dinner, but I'm here and I'm ready to talk some playoff hockey. So where exactly are we leading into? Is my
Well,
move.
we're actually just discussing Alex Carey, so we didn't even start talking playoff hockey yet.
Yeah, we just kind of talking, kind of going over kind of the Habs rebuild to this point and why, again, why they're in this position where they're in to make the playoff.
Yeah,
I want to ask you this, Nordy. After last night, what is your confidence level right now about making the playoffs on a 1 to 100 scale?
I mean, for me, I think still about a 90. Again, it is what it is.
Keep going.
These games aren't meant to be easy.
No.
I know the last couple of games they haven't really been in the best form, just in terms of on offense, just getting shots on. I think defensively they've been pretty fine. Like I thought they played very well defensively against Toronto. I know they gave up a shitload of shots, but it was nothing that Monty really couldn't handle. But again, I'm pretty confident. I think getting the point last night, I would have liked the second to clinch, but getting the point makes the Hurricanes game not a must win per se, because if that game goes to overtime, we clinch. So regardless, but I mean, I'm still confident in our chances. I think they'll come out and they'll play well tomorrow. We'll see what happens tonight. I mean, maybe you guys will do your job
tonight. So
yeah. No, I mean, we'll see. And I will say this too. I am glad that it's the Jackets that we're in this with, again, with everything that happened at the beginning of the year with Johnny Gaudreau. Like I can't say that I wouldn't be happy if they did make it. I mean, it would suck, as a Habs fan, but again, I can't, if there's gonna be another team with us to the very end. I'm glad it is the Jackets. I do think that's a great story. And I do. I think those guys are, they're playing for Johnny Gaudreau. Sean Monahan's the leader there, and I love Sean Monahan. So, I wish them the best too. I mean, obviously, but yeah, I mean, if there's gonna be a team that could pass us, which would stink, I'm happy that it. I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah.
Because it's the Jackets.
Yeah, no, they're a great story this year. Like honestly, everything they've overcome, and like their young players, like really taking that next step, and like Sean Monahan.
Voronkov.
And now they got that new kid in Nets now that's on fire. And all of a sudden, there was in Greece.
Right? Yeah, he's got to start tonight against you guys.
Yeah, Greaves. He's in there tonight.
That's it. Sorry. But yeah, no, like look, they're a formidable team, and like, but that's it. Like he was just Sean Monahan. Like honestly, like I thought this guy was at best maybe a 2 to 3 C like at this point of his career, but like he's really proven me wrong, and like he's
revitalized since that original Montreal trade. I feel like I have to give him that.
He really. I mean, he really did. Like he really turned his career around in Montreal, and again, another Kent Hughes masterpiece of asset management, because he basically got 2 first-round picks and something else in there basically for free. And again, I love Sean Monahan, the player. He's a great guy, but yeah, I mean, he really turned things around in Montreal, and Kent Hughes was able to capitalize on it. And, again, I mean, it just goes to show when you have the right guys in charge. I mean,
No, I
it's
mean,
on
you
the
got a
field.
good front office for sure. Kent Hughes is one of the better general managers in the league. I do have to agree with that. So I will say he's probably a borderline top 5 GM, maybe even
No,
higher.
I would agree with that. No, I absolutely would agree with that. It wouldn't. And again, if we do end up making the playoffs, like, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he got some votes for GM of the year.
Yeah.
Same thing with Marty St. Louis. I think Marty St. Louis would get votes for the Jack Adams. I don't think he'd win it, but I think he would get votes.
I think a certain individual in Washington, I think, has that locked up.
No, absolutely. I absolutely agree. But again, I think Marty St. Louis would get a few votes here and there.
And
you know what I mean? I don't think
Columbus is coach too. Like, if they make it, he's got to get some votes, right?
Oh, 100%. 100%. He definitely should get some if they make it. There's a few, man. Even what's his name? What's Calgary's coach's name too? Chip or whatever, man. Like that team too. Like,
I'll tell you one thing. I don't know how I feel about Craig Conroy, that GM, because that Farabee and Frost trade ain't looking too hot right now for them.
Well, yeah, but look, he took a chance on 2 young players, and I'm curious to see what Farabee would look like after like an off season.
Yeah, it gets a full year. I agree with that.
Because I still think that the potential is still there with Farabee, and like at the end of the
day,
day,
fairly young too, right?
He's 25, 26.
I was gonna say,
I think he's 25. He is young.
There.
Like, he absolutely has room to grow. The issue with him is, like, he's got under 40 points in his last, like, over 110 games. Like, that's not a small sample size at this point. You're talking about the length of roughly almost a season and a half. Like, you're at the point where it's like, put up or shut up. Like, you need to show me something. And it's listen, I love Joel Farabee. I think he's an awesome dude. He was a great person here. And as I've said before, I met his father. His father was as classy as they came when I was down in Tampa last year. So I want to see him be successful. But at some point, you need to look at it and be like, is this just what he is? Or can he take that next level? I feel like Frost has transitioned a little bit better in Calgary than Farabee has. Frost, mind you, at the same time, he's kind of being what he's always been here. Good play. He has good play creating abilities. He can start the rush, and then he has flashes where he can be great, and then he has flashes where he's on a milk carton. So it really just depends from Calgary's perspective. But Calgary's not dead. St. Louis is starting to struggle a little bit. St. Louis has to win their last game, or Calgary has fate in their own hands suddenly. So
I was gonna just say that. Yeah, that's a good tie into that final wild card spot in the West, because you're right. I mean, the Blues really can't afford to slip up. I mean, again, how likely is it that Calgary wins those 2 games? I mean, I don't know. They have the Kings for one of them, and let me see who the other game is.
So
Vegas. I think
St. Louis's last game. I think it's tomorrow, if I remember correctly. No, it's not. I'm sorry. It is not tomorrow. I think they played their last games on Thursday. Let me see. I'm looking right now.
Right. Now, Calgary does play tonight. They play Vegas.
It's tonight. I'm sorry.
The
Blues play Utah.
Yeah, Calgary's got to win that game.
Calgary plays Vegas
tonight. They got to win that game.
Vegas might be resting some guys, so I could see that.
And I mean, the Kings will probably be resting some guys on the last day of the season.
And they play Seattle. Go Tank, go!
And look, Minnesota's not safe either, eh?
No, they only have 1 point up. Minnesota, if they lose their final game, suddenly it gets interesting. So
the Blues are playing Utah.
Tonight. Now, Minnesota has the tiebreaker over both teams. So they could jump them. Who knows? But
right.
Yeah, it's a must win for Minnesota too. They're playing the Ducks tonight, so if they get no points, they're not safe either. So
St. Louis plays Utah, and Calgary plays, like you said, Vegas, and then I think they play again on tomorrow. No, Calgary's Thursday. I'm just guessing at this point. I'm guessing wrong every time. Calgary's final game is Kings.
I think it's safe to say that last wild card spot in the West, I think, is a lot more complicated than obviously in the East, right?
Oh yeah.
Again, right? There's so many things that could happen, and all like all three of these teams can flip. Like
Like,
it's crazy how complicated things
like
are
the
in the East
East
right now.
is practically set, barring anything crazy. Toronto's likely hosting Ottawa in the first round.
Right.
Florida's locked into the 3, so they can't move. Tampa's likely going to be the 2, barring something crazy. Like I said, Tampa would have to win their last 2 games. Toronto, I think, would have to lose. How many games does Toronto have left? 1 or 2?
2.
2. So Toronto would have to lose their last 2 games, both in regulation, because then I think Tampa would overtake them in tiebreaker, if I'm correct. That's the only way they could win the division. So realistically, it'll probably be Toronto hosting Ottawa, Tampa hosting Florida. We already know for sure that it's going to be New Jersey hosting Carolina, and then Washington hosting one of Montreal or Columbus. Likely Montreal, but still not official yet. And in the West, Kings already hosting Edmonton. That's a lock. Then you have Vegas. They're going to be hosting whoever the number 1 wild card is. At this point, it's Minnesota. Could still be St. Louis. Could still be Calgary for all we know. So that they don't know their opponent yet. And then in the other, Colorado and Dallas is a lock. Dallas will be hosting them. We already know that for sure. And Winnipeg's going to get whoever the wild card 2 is out of those 3 teams. So realistically, outside of maybe the fluke chance of Toronto and Tampa, we have the top 7 seeds in each conference set. So it's kind of, in a way, a good thing that we're going to get at least some level of locking in, and we just have these small races that we're concentrating on at this point. And just a score update right now in Philadelphia. It is scoreless with about 8 minutes to go in the first. Flyers just had a power play that was not successfully converted. While we're here, let me see if I can pull that scoreboard up. I'll share screen a little bit so we have it up. Because I've been yapping this whole time. Hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm going to work some magic. There we go. Let me see here. Try to make it a little bit bigger. Give me 1 second, gentlemen. Hey, can you guys see the scoreboard, or is that not quite big enough? You know what? We got our
Kind of tiny.
Hold on a moment. Yeah, that's too tiny. And we have our buddy Rick here to say hi. Although I'm still trying to. There we go. There.
Yeah,
we can make it work with that. So
now I see it.
So we got the score at least on the side, because this is the big game in the East tonight. Like I said, currently scoreless right now. So this is the game that is going to determine everything for Montreal, obviously, if they're going to have anything to play for tomorrow, or if they can rest some guys if need be. As stated, Columbus has to win this game in regulation. If they do not, their season is over. And the Flyers are about to get a second power play, it looks like. There is a delayed penalty on Columbus as we speak. So, gentlemen, who do you, at this moment in time, which series is the most appealing to you?
Well, let's see. Well, obviously, I think what's it called? Dallas, Colorado has to be like.
I was gonna say, yeah. I think for me,
one.
Dallas, Colorado, no question about it.
Facts. I said the same thing a few weeks ago. I think that's going to be the best series of the first round, maybe the whole playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Battle of Florida will be good. The Battle of Ontario will be good, but I think from a pure hockey standpoint, I think Dallas, Colorado might end up. I mean, it could very well end up being like the series of the playoffs, right? Like, especially if that goes for like the 7th game, right? Get some overtimes. Make for fantastic hockey.
I will say the winner of that series is coming out of the West, I think. Unless this is like a 7-game grind where one of the teams, that the team that gets out of it ends up dealing with a handful of injuries out of it, which could happen. But unless there's something like that happens, I think the winner of that series will be the representative of the Western Conference, is my prediction. Because those, in my opinion, are the two best teams in the West. Not to discredit Winnipeg for winning the President's Trophy. Vegas, they just won the Cup 2 years ago. The Kings have been looking to make that next step. I'm not a believer in Edmonton this year, as I've said. Speaking of Edmonton,
they got I think a lot of injuries down the stretch haven't helped. Like losing Ekholm for it sounds like
he's gonna be going for the first round.
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah. He might be done for like
I think he's done for the year.
He might be done for.
Well, they said for sure the first round. They didn't specify anything past that, but he is going to be out for the first round. But you might be right.
What I've been reading, I think he might be like done for the year.
And then Darnell Nurse just screwed up last night. He used Quentin Byfield's head into the ice, and that was dirty as hell. I don't know if anyone saw that. So with that being said, he could be looking at a suspension that could leak into the playoffs. That could be another defenseman gone for them. McDavid and Draisaitl, I don't think are 100% either. But, yeah. Well,
no, but I mean, at the end of the day, though, those guys, I mean, it's still McDavid and Draisaitl. Like, they're still going to be fantastic, I think. It's just that type of caliber player.
Oh, yeah.
But I agree, though. I mean, you never know, right? You
could
have a weird bump here and there, in the corner or something, or maybe you stop funny. And a bunch of things can happen. Maybe you tweak something, but I agree. I think Edmonton's probably out in the first round. I just think the injuries are going to be a lot for them to overcome.
Henny, what do you mean by that? Yeah. Why is that sickening?
What's
wrong with that?
There's two
I'm
of
a Flyers fan too. I don't see any issue with that.
I'm right.
Go Flyers. You should be thanking us right now because we're trying to make sure you get into the playoffs with ease. You're welcome.
No, we got a tank, Alex.
Yeah, no, I agree. We're on full-blown tank mode. Montreal, you should want to win it tomorrow because it'll feel that much more satisfying that you guys did it on your own.
1,000%. I just, for my blood pressure reasons, I'd rather not.
But like I said, I know what it's like. I've had a few years where I've been in your shoes and I'm sweating my balls off like you just want to get in and not have to stress. 2018, I remember we needed a point against the New York Rangers and Florida was chipping at our ass the entire time. And they just wouldn't go away. And I found myself cheering my ass for the Boston Bruins the night before, thinking if the Bruins can just beat Florida, we don't have to worry. We clinch the playoff spot. I'm sitting in a bar watching the game surrounded by Bruins fans, and I'm cheering. It's like, yeah, go Bees. I'm like, I'm not actually a Bruins fan. I'm a Flyers fan. I just want you guys to knock Florida out for us. But then we ended up playing the Rangers the next day, and what do you know? Claude Giroux had a playoff clinching hat trick, and that was one of my favorite memories of G.
2 secondes, je vais répondre à Henny there. Oui, je suis pas un fan des Canadiens, OK? Je suis juste un fan des Flyers. Je m'en calisse. OK? That's it. If you understand French, that's for you, Henny.
Listen.
I said I don't care. I don't like the Habs.
I'm from Boston, and I'm a Flyers fan. He's from Montreal. He's from Montreal, and he's a Flyers fan.
I'm from Boston, and I'm a Habs fan.
Carolina is resting.
I find that stranger. I'm sorry. I find that stranger.
Carolina is resting a bunch of regulars tomorrow. You never know with this team, though. You know what? That's a fair. Do you know who Carolina is resting? Because it's funny that you mentioned that. I originally brought this up to both Nordy and Rick in our private chat that they might be resting some guys, and this could be something to watch for. However, I also do know that Carolina is playing a back-to-back on Wednesday and Thursday. That I didn't realize. So I wonder if how many of their main guys they do rest for game 81 and end up resting more of them game 82 on Thursday. Do they rest them both of these games? I know they have nothing to play for, So you might be right, but do they want them to go into that level of rust?
I would assume maybe they rest like a couple guys one game and a couple guys another.
Could
Probably
be.
what I'm thinking, like, or they'll just play a full roster game 81 and then game 82 just rest a few guys. But
Could
at the
be.
same time, it's not like you could rest like 3-4 guys a game either, because you need the bodies to play anyway. And I guess I don't know I don't know their situation right now, how many guys they have in their roster, but
From Boston rooting for the Flyers, from Montreal rooting for the Flyers. What? Eric, you explain your story, and then I'll explain mine, how we became Flyers fans.
well, for me, it's because I have family in Philadelphia, and my uncle here, my mom's brother is also a Flyers fan. And when I really started getting into hockey is when Montreal started nosediving, and like they were just no good. So after the '93 Cup, so I just gravitated towards the Flyers. And that's pretty much it. Like, yeah, my uncle and my family like huge Flyers fans. So
Makes sense. Makes sense. For me, so I grew up liking started watching hockey in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I've always loved Eric Lindros's game. Him and John LeClair. Those are the two guys I grew up watching. And I wasn't really a fan of a team then. Like, I watched the Bruins, and, I went to a few Bruins games too, but I didn't really, give them my full attention. But I watched Lindros and LeClair, and I watched that entire Legion of Doom line with Lindros, LeClair, and Renberg, and the team, and I absolutely loved it and how they played the game. And, I watched their battles with the New Jersey Devils in the late 90s, early 2000s too as a kid. And there were more guys that came on that team that really stuck to me. Keith Primo, Eric Desjardins, Trent Klatt, to throw out a random name out there, Chris Therien, Simone Gagne. The names go on. And I just sat there and Rob Brindamore, coach of Carolina now, funny enough. And the more I watch them, I'm like, there's so many guys on this team that I like. Fuck it, this is my team. I'm just going to root for the Flyers. And my fandom of the team just grew more and more. I remember being in Boston in 2010 when the Bruins went up 3-0, and I got so much shit from the Bruins fan. And I took it. I'm sitting there taking it, and I'm just saying to myself, just give me one. I don't want to get swept. Just give me one. Simone Gagne comes back game 4, gets the OT winner. It's suddenly 3-1. I'm like, okay, we'll play it. I got that at least. I get a little bit of room to say at least we didn't get swept. Game 5, they dominated with 2 different goalies in net. Enter Michael Layton. Game 6, they squeak by, and I'm thinking, oh my God, please make this happen. I need the ability to talk shit. Game 7 happens. I go down 3-0. I'm just sitting there watching on TV, dead look in my face. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not giving up. They're going to make a push. They did it once with the series. They can do it again with the game. Peter Laviolette calls that famous timeout, gathers troops. They come back to the game. And I got to say, I don't think I ever yelled as hard as I did before when Simone Gagne gave him a 4-3 lead in that game. In my life as a Flyers fan, that may have been the loudest I ever yelled when they jumped and took the lead.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Henny. I appreciate the sub. Much appreciated. We all got our stories. So that's mine, and that's Eric's.
What up, Bacon?
What is your story?
So, growing up, I was always a big Saku Koivu fan. Again, being born in 97, I really kind of started really getting into hockey probably when I was 10 or 11. So 06, 07. So, a little after he came back from from battling cancer. And I just always drawn to him. I always thought he was a great leader. And, he wore number 11, which is one of my numbers. 11, 21, and 5 are kind of the numbers I always wore playing sports.
Yep.
Growing up. But I was also, still a Bruins fan a little bit, for a few more years. And it was kind of around 2012 where I really kind of permanently made the switch. I think for me, I really kind of fell in love with Brendan Gallagher's game. I think, Brendan Gallagher, honestly, is one of the hardest working players in the league. He wears his heart on his sleeve. I just, I love having him on the team. Carey Price too. I was just in awe, kind of watching him as, kind of going through middle school and into high school where he was just dominating. Like, and a couple other guys. I was a huge Subban fan when he broke out into the league, and just kind of went from there. Kind of same thing with you, Fred. Like, there's just a lot of guys that I really liked on the team. And
similar story.
Really, besides Bergeron, there really wasn't another Bruins player that I would say that I really liked. Not to say that I had any issues with any Bruins plays. I didn't, but Bergeron, I was really always a fan of.
You can say you don't like Marchand. Don't worry, this is a safe space.
I like Chara too a little bit until he tried to murder Max Pacioretty, and that it pissed me off a little bit. But no, I love Bergeron a lot, and honestly, I think I see kind of a lot of Bergeron and Nick Suzuki, if that makes sense, right? In the way.
I can see that. It's a two-way game. Nick Suzuki is developing a two-way player. I can see it.
Again, that's why, like, even now, like, I love Nick Suzuki. That's Rick's favorite player on the team now. Suzuki's right up there with me. Really, him and Lane Hudson and Caulfield. Really, those three. It's hard to really pick one, but
it's Hudson or Caulfield for you. I know for sure. It's one of those.
But again, right, like. It's just been, like I said, growing up, there were a lot of guys I liked on the team, and even now. So, yeah,
I respect that. That's it. Like I said, it's very similar to how I became a fan. Eric, I feel like is more family.
Markov too is another big one. I always loved watching Andrei Markov. I think he's, one of the best defensemen of the last, probably 20 years. I know he's, obviously he's not in that upper echelon, some of like the big name guys, but I think, I still think Andrei Markov in general is probably a top 15, top 10 defenseman in the last 20 or so years, just in his longevity and just the way he played the game. And, he was just another one that I just really, really liked. Kind of watching.
Like I said, I respect it. It starts from liking individual players that makes you grow to like the team, and that's kind of what my story was too. As I mentioned, like it's hard to when you have an out of state team that you become a fan of. I feel like there's like a story like that or something similar to it, or either that or family related, like Eric has. Like that could easily be it as well. Like, I have one of my best friends. He's a big Lakers fan because he loved Kobe Bryant growing up. And he told me he literally broke down crying when he found out what happened with the helicopter crash. And I can respect that because I know how big of a Kobe fan he was. He absolutely loved him. And, I have one of my best friends is a massive New York Giants fan for football. And he loved Jeremy Shockey growing up. And that's kind of how he grew up into becoming a big fan of that team. So
I respect that. I was a big. Me, I'm a huge Pats fan, but like I was a big Strahan guy too growing up. Love Michael Strahan a lot.
Go Pats! My crappy tattoo.
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
Go Birds! Go Birds!
No,
you got your second championship, Eric. So congratulations. We were all on Team Eagles for that Super Bowl, FYI. We were all on Team Eagles. Yeah. None of us wanted the Chiefs to win.
I think I think the whole world was. I think like the world just had like fatigue of Mahomes and the whole thing and everything. There's so much just Kansas City fatigue that I think anybody, whoever they were playing, was going to be the massive the team rooted.
Just to give a quick minute on that because we won't spend too much. We don't want to go too off topic. But you know what it was with the Chiefs that year is they just kept finding nonsense ways to win just by the fucking skin of their teeth. Whether it was the blocked field goal against the Denver Broncos, the friggin' Raiders muffing a snap, the non-call pass interference against the Falcons, the bullshit that happened in the AFC Championship game. We could go on. But it's been like that. It was like that all damn year with the Chiefs. So, I don't know. It was weird. And at some point, I was like, please, I don't want to have to hear this three-peat bullshit and have guys like Nick Wright just talk about, how Patrick Mahomes has already surpassed Tom Brady as the greatest QB ever. I'm like, No, he hasn't. Brady did this crap in his prime until he was 45. And that was the year he finally started slowing down a little bit. So thank God for the Eagles winning that Super Bowl. And not just winning that, embarrassing them. Because it kind of, you can never now say that Mahomes is in Brady's level unless if he wins 8. Because Brady never got his dick kicked in twice in the Super Bowl. But that's my quick non-hockey minute. I don't want to go too off topic because we got some playoff talk. Flyers and Columbus are 0-0 after 1. So let's now talk a little bit with these races because this is what this episode is mainly primarily focusing on. Let's look at some of the playoff races or matchups as of right now. Let's just assume nothing changes, at least in the East. The West, I won't say as much, but the East, let's just say the 8 teams end up staying. What do you think will be the most competitive series in the East?
Ooh, competitive? Man, I think probably Tampa, Florida. Yeah, Tampa, Florida, or Toronto, Ottawa, I think would be the most competitive series. Because honestly, I think Carolina just either sweeps or destroys New Jersey. Like
I agree.
4 or 5 against New Jersey. New Jersey's just they're battling too many injuries to key players. Oh man, like I should have written it down, but their record since like January 1st is like
It's like 500.
It's terrible. So they're really resting on like all the points that they accumulated pre-January 1. So yeah, so that I don't see it. Washington, Montreal. I'm conflicted because it's like Washington is kind of not playing their best hockey right now, but then I tell myself it's like, well, is it because they're just like, you know what, they've locked this thing up. They're just like, they're just like going through the motions right now, but like come day 1 of the playoffs, like they switch it back up. But now like it's like, can you just flip a switch like that? Like so, and the question marks in net with the injury to Logan Thompson, I'm not 100% sure.
Yep.
But I still definitely lean towards Washington, and not that I don't think it's going to be competitive. I think every series it will probably be like pretty competitive, well, other than New Jersey.
Yeah.
But yeah, fuck New Jersey. But yeah, I think those 2 in the East are definitely the most competitive.
You can count on Carolina to get out of the first round. They hit that wall afterwards, usually. I tend to agree with that. I don't think this really has to do in this round due to matchup. I saw one of my New Jersey followers on Twitter post this. New Jersey is 3-10-2 in their last 15 games against Carolina. They got their number even with the team healthy. Now they have no Dougie Hamilton or Jack Hughes, their best defenseman and best center, or arguably best center. I've even seen people argue for Nico Hischier this year. He's been great, mind you. I've got to give it to that kid. I always argue with Devils fans when we drafted Nolan Patrick. Oh, yeah, Patrick's going to be better than Hischier. Oof, that was dead wrong. But I will say this about New Jersey is they're a resilient bunch. They're going to at least play hard. But as you mentioned, I think they're absolutely massacred with injuries. I think Carolina wins that at the most 5 games. Maybe New Jersey takes a game to make it a gentleman's sweep. But out of the 8 series, I think that is the one that is most likely to end in a sweep. Washington, assuming it's Montreal. I've said this all for a month now. Montreal is the 2015-16 Flyers in a nutshell. And they're going to do the same exact thing the 2015-16 Flyers did. They're going to give Washington a battle, but they're going to fall short because they do have their flaws. I would pick Washington in 6 in that. I'm not saying that Montreal won't give them a battle because I think they'll probably split the first 2 games, and then Washington will kind of take over, make it 3-1. Montreal fights off elimination to make it 3-2, and then that game 6 is a tough battle game where Washington fans start to sweat a little bit, like, oh, just end it tonight, please. And they win a nail biter or something like that.
I think I can see like a 6, maybe even 7-game series. Like I think
you'll play them tough.
Canadiens are going to be a hard out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Like I said, I think they'll play them tough. That's why I've said, and that's exactly what the 2015-16 Flyers did. Caps were the what was it? The President's Trophy winner then. Now they're not this year, but they're second. And I think that this Montreal team is similar to the team I mentioned. Elite rookie defenseman, one extremely good line, one or two other good forwards that have helped carry the load. Now you added Demidov, so that's one massive difference. So,
Farron, that reminds me. Did you what do you think of his goal last night? Like honestly,
that was a nice play, good finish. I will say that he read that well. Good move on the backhand. I was more impressed at the assist. I was more impressed at the assist than the goal because that was some great skating and a good little head fake to open up things to get that pass. Who is it? To Newhook?
Yeah, that buried it. No, that was good. On the goal, like I couldn't believe his hand speed to go forehand, backhand that quick after getting the puck like that close to the goalie. Like that was insane.
The thing that I've noticed about Demidov that people talk about so much is how good of a skater he is and how good his defensive game is. And I saw it in the skating. His puck handling is very good too. Now, he's got some shit to work on. I will say that third goal, he looked lazy on that play. I will say that.
I agree. I mean, you got to remember too, right? I mean, he's 19 and it is his first game.
That's fair. I'm sure Marty St. Louis is going to talk to him about it over film sessions today. But I will give him credit. His skating's ridiculous. He's definitely a better skater than Michkov. I will give him that for sure. And it obviously is defensive game. Michkov's not known for his defense. Like I said, when I make the comparisons between the guy, Demidov's both the better skater and defender. I think Michkov is the better goal scorer and has higher hockey IQ. Not saying Demidov is dumb and just it's more of a.
I mean, it's pretty close though.
I think it's close. But I think Michkov does take the edge because he sees plays before they develop, and I think their playmaking is pretty much almost dead even. But they're both going to be excellent players. Not to start a feud right now. They're both going to be top 10 forwards when they hit.
No, for sure.
And they're both going to be.
But I also do think they're also like I think they're extremely close in hockey IQ. I think.
Oh yeah, like
Michkov, slight edge to me.
It's like this.
But I can also see someone maybe given a slight edge to that. It just depends on how you look at the game, right? I will say watching both, I think Demidov's hands are a lot quicker. I do.
I'd say I'd give puck handling a little bit to him. I'd give that. I think, and you know what? I could argue Michkov has maybe even pushed towards the playmaking debate. I think Michkov's playmaking is extremely good too, but I think Demidov's hands are silky smooth. I give him that, and he's a great skater.
So quick though, too. Like that's what stands out. Like his hand speed is ridiculous.
That was a great listen. That move on his first assist is what impressed me the most. He's fresh. What did Aiken say? I'm sorry. He's fresh off a plane, jet lagged. First game, other guys were also falling. I'm not saying that's not the case. I think that was a complete defensive breakdown, but I just saw the play and I saw him kind of coasting back on that third goal. St. Louis is going to talk to him. I'm not saying he's going to be a lazy player. I'm just saying, and maybe he was jet lagged. He was only 3 days removed from a flight from Russia.
Like I said, I kind of flushed that down the toilet a little bit. Like, obviously, he's not going to do that every time.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't make a habit of it, that's fine. He's got the excuse in his first game.
Yeah.
But he looked good. He's going to be good. He's absolutely. And you know what? I'll tell you one team. You want a team that I think is regretting their pick right now? It's the Anaheim Ducks. Beckett Senecki over Ivan Demidov. Here's an interesting one. I'm also not sold on Marty St. Louis' system recently. He coached a loss yesterday. Nordy, you're the Habs expert here. What do you have to say about that?
No, I think that's fair. I wasn't the biggest fan of how we kind of coached the game yesterday. However, I will say I think in general though, I still am 100% behind Marty St. Louis. I think he's also done a lot of really, really good things. The team is finally kind of at a point where it's not kind of so much kind of teaching. It's more so like really kind of coaching and you know,
Mhm.
kind of getting into, I don't know what the right word is, but kind of really putting the nose to the grindstone now. You know what? Because it's been, we're in the 4th year now, and I think a lot of
Mhm.
guys have, gotten better throughout the years. I think he's, so, but again, he's also still, a rookie,
Yep.
quote unquote head coach. I mean, it's been a couple years, but I mean, this is his only coaching experience, so I still think he's learning a lot too.
And it's a
But
fair point.
but no, I think for me in general, again, I can't say that I'm not happy with the way that he's coached this team, and the way that he coaches. I think he's a great coach for the modern game, and I think he's a great teacher. And I mean, you just got to think about what when we watched him when he played. I mean, a super high IQ guy, like he's a smaller guy, so I think he's been really good for guys like Caulfield, Hudson when he came up, kind of because he can relate to those guys.
Mhm.
And, I do.
So-
I like Martin St. Louis a lot. I really do.
I think I will say this. I said back in December that if I thought Montreal regressed this year, I would put him on the hot seat. I think they obviously didn't. So he's definitely will be back next year. I think he's a respectable coach in the league. The one thing I've seen about Montreal fans on Twitter that they mention about him is they attack his in-game adjustment ability. Again, you know them a hell of a lot better than I do. So
Yeah,
I can't
it's
agree
weird
or
because
disagree.
it's game to it it depends on the game. Like there's been games where he's been very, very good at that, where you see, kind of a sluggish first period, but like second period and the third period, it's full on balls to the wall, like the Habs are bringing it. So
Yeah.
I feel like it just depends on the game, and again, that's a lot on. Again, it has to do with just St. Louis still learning things. But I think in general, I think he's a fine coach. I think he's doing a fine job, and I mean, again, I don't, last night I don't think was one of his best coaching performances, but to learn from that,
Yeah.
again,
It's fair. And, I'm not going to discredit him for that either. You live and learn. You grow. I mean, you grow and as you coach more. Listen, there's much worse coaches than him, for sure. There's a certain guy in Anaheim that should have been launched into the sun years ago. He's probably the worst coach in the league right now, for sure. This is an interesting point. Caden Lindstrom, full year of development loss. I said this at the time when it came to the Blue Jackets. I think that pick was very risky. And this is why I wanted to avoid him because the
Rick and I
Flyers
talked
wanted
about this too.
to move up, and I wanted nothing to do with him when all that talk was happening because he's got some chronic back issues, and that scares the piss out of me. Columbus is lucky they hit Adam Fantilli when they did because he's going to be a star. That's a future all-star right there. That's a future point-per-game guy. I think he's going to end up being the third-best player out of that draft. I would take him over Leo Carlsson in a redraft, not to disrespect Leo Carlsson, because I think he's going to be a good player on his own. I don't think he took the progression that Adam Fantilli did this year. And I think Will Smith has had an excellent rookie year to even add conversation to that as well. And so that 2023 draft class is looking to be damn loaded. Damn loaded. But yeah. Would you take Roger McQueen, the Flyers, some injury worries there? At where we are now, fuck no.
No.
And I say that in the nicest way possible. There is no disrespect to Roger McQueen. I get Nolan Patrick PTSD from that man. No.
Yeah.
No.
I don't. Yeah, like you said, at this point where the Flyers are in their rebuild, no, you can't take a chance on him.
So
the
go
only
ahead,
way
Eric,
I
finish.
draft McQueen is if like we draft someone else first with our top pick, and
That's
because we
different,
have
yes.
2 other firsts and 4 seconds, we trade back in, like maybe go higher. Maybe like let's say he slips to like 12, 13, maybe jump, try and trade up for the guy for him.
I can
but
agree with that.
Yeah, but as like our first pick, absolutely not. You can't risk it.
Our first pick, you know who I want. Give me Anton Frundell.
Same.
That
Same, my
kid
guy.
is spicy. He is a phenomenal two-way game. He's got a ripper of a shot. You got another guy who can score, who has electrifying defense. The big knock on him is his transition game, which is fine. I am not worried about that. I think that can be coached, number one. And number two, you can get another center that specifies more in a playmaking role. But his two-way game is absolutely sensational. The comp of him, and I'm not saying he's going to become this player. I'm just saying what I've seen as a comp. I think it's Byron Baker who posted that. I can't remember the guy on Twitter. I think he's an Isles fan, but he posted this as a comp. Alexander Barkov. His two-way game is ridiculous. And I'm not saying he's going to become Barkov. Just want to put that out there. But his style of play reminds you of Barkov. Yeah. But I want Frindell as my first target. Higgins is my second. Probably Jake O'Brien would be my third in that order. What about you, Eric?
I think if they're Frundell and Higgins are both available when we pick, I might actually.
You want Higgins, don't you?
I might actually lead Higgins. The only thing that not even that worries me. I like the skill is there. Like I like what I see from Higgins. I'm not worried. Like some people are like, oh, but he only put up like just over like a point per game. I don't care. The skill is there. Like the kid's a talent. The only thing that worries about me is now because like let's say Luchenko is like your 2C of the future, you kind of have two undersized centers.
Yeah.
So that kind of, but they're not like small or anything. They're just, but they're still under 6 foot, right? So like that would worry me a little bit. So that's why maybe I might lean a little bit more towards Frendel. But then after that, I think you know what? I actually prefer again, like I'm no draft experts. Everything my opinions are just for everything I read or hear on pods or whatever. But like I think I'd lean more towards Desnoyers than O'Brien. That's just my opinion on that.
So here's the thing when it comes to Desnoyers. His offensive upside, it seems limited from what I've read. I haven't really watched much of him, so I can't really validate that. Jake O'Brien feels like he'd be a better fit here in terms of playmaking, and he has more size. I think he's like 6'2", so that would be helpful. And that's kind of why I want Frendell too. This team has so many undersized guys that a guy like Frendell, I think he's like, 6 feet, 6'1", almost 200 pounds already, and he's already playing in the Swedish Pro League. A guy like that, you get a guy who is an elite two-way potential like that to fit in this team. What?
I think Paling just got hit in the nuts.
Well, you're ahead of me, so we'll see. Oh, right in the fucking testicles. That ain't fun. You're right. But the thing when it comes to his two-way game is he's got size, and he is a monster in puck battles, I've heard. Frendell, that is.
Oh, no, got him on the inside of the knee, right where there's not a lot of padding.
I'm seeing the shot now. Oh, yeah, you're right. That was on the inside of the knee.
Real time, it looked like it caught him right in the round tables.
This is an interesting one here. Flyers will be better suited tanking in next year's draft. A lot of great players at the top at every position. You're probably right there. Long term, they would be. Here's the thing. This team has so many guys locked up, and they are so invested in this year's draft. And Danny has already given the hints and vibes that they're ready to take the next step in the rebuild, that they want to give Michkov the opportunity to build as soon as possible. Not to say I think they're going to be a contender next year. They're absolutely not. But I don't think they use all 7 draft picks. I think it's almost a given that they don't.
When you have that many picks in the first 2 rounds,
no.
You're either going to use some.
I'd use the first rounders, at least maybe kind of like earlier ones. But I think you got to trade at least 3 of them to try to get some guys that can help right now.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't shock me. Like
the Flyers right now is they definitely need to get some more high-end talent. So they're either going to do this one of 2 ways. As Eric mentioned, they might be trading up in the Columbus just scored. They're either going to be trading up in the draft, or they're going to be looking elsewhere through free agency or trade avenues. And I said I think it's going to be likely more towards trade. I do think they'll trade either some of those picks to maybe get an NHL ready top 6 center to a team that would want to consider of a rebuild. Me and Eric have both mentioned on the Flyer Up podcast a team to watch is the Seattle Kraken. We think Ron Francis might be on the way out, and they might be a little more open to deal for a potential rebuild because they have a lot of older guys there. Yeah, that was.
I want to interject for 1 second. That goal that Fabro just scored was a rocket.
Yeah, that was a dirty shot. Nothing
That
to
was
really do about
missile.
that.
Great shot.
I will say this about
A great shot.
Urson play. One last thing about the Flyers before we move on. Urson impresses me. Here's the thing with Sam Urson. He's not a legit number one starter. I think that has been proven.
I think he's like a tandem guy for me, right? Like if
He
you
can be a tandem guy.
something like that.
His highs are high. His lows are fucking low.
Yeah, I think for him it's consistency. I think is the big thing.
He lets in leakers that you look and it's like, oh my God, how did he let that in? So that's the only thing with Urson that worries me about his game is he sometimes lets in those leakers or softies, I should say, that scare me about him. But he's not consistent enough to be a true number one. I think he's more of a, like you mentioned, his ceiling's a tandem guy on a 1B perspective. When he was here last year with he who should not be named as the 1B, getting about a little over 30 starts, like 32 to 34 start range, that fit his course a little better. He wasn't getting worked into the ground. If he had a bad game, he had a chance to reset and rebuild his confidence rather quickly. He could place, and then when he does come back, he's back to what he was or has a chance to build some confidence again. So that's the only issue with him.
Oh no, totally. And but look, he's still young, so maybe he could develop late because he's 25, so goalies usually hit their
They take a little
peak
longer. You're
later, but like you said, from what he's showing right now, no, that's it. Like tandem goalie probably at best. Yeah.
I'm swapping seats. The seat I'm in right now is too damn low. I look like I'm freaking shrinking. But yeah, that's the thing with Urson. He's unless it's proven otherwise, from what I've seen at this point, you know what you got in him. His highs are good. His lows are fucking Grand Canyon lows. He's got a very.
I think for him it's the consistency. Really, it's kind of the big thing.
Yeah,
because I like a lot of his game. I think his puck tracking skills are actually quite good. I think his reflexes are quite good. It's just he just got to be consistent. Is really the only thing.
I want to see him maybe be back in a tandem next year. I think that would be good. I think out of the three goalies, he's absolutely the one that's most likely to be back next year. What happened to Kolosov? He's going back to Russia, most likely, it sounds like. It's not given yet, but I think it'll probably be announced at the end of the year. And honestly, I don't care at this point in this damn saga. We have two other goalie prospects I feel better about that both probably want to be here. And I think Fedotov will be sniffing the AHL next year. I think this team will be goalie hunting in 2025, 28 offseason.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's go back looking into the playoff series because we're been a little distracted. The Tampa, Florida series, I think, is going to be good. And I wonder.
Florida's always good. I think the Battle of Ontario will be good. That's always good too.
The Battle of I wonder because this is the first year. The last 2 years, I've picked Ottawa to be a team to push for the playoffs, and each of the last 2 years, they didn't. I finally gave the fuck up on them. And, of course, this is the year they do it when I don't pick them. But the thing with – I wonder how much of Ottawa's inexperience is going to hold them back. I think this is a decent matchup for Tampa in that perspective. However, in perspective of Tampa did I say Tampa? Toronto. Let me refresh that. I got my two series mixed up. In perspective of Toronto, how healthy is Austin Matthews? Is Mitch Marner's head going to be completely in this? Because he's likely looking into free agency the moment the season ends. Is Toronto's goaltending going to hold up like it has all year? it's gonna be very interesting to see with this Toronto team
1,000%.
to see how much they're invested. They're not as strong offensively as they were prior years, but I think they are better defensively and in net.
I agree, and I think having Craig Berube at the helm is also really good, but it's also just still Toronto. Like they still have kind of that overarching, like you know, I know they got to the second round, but they won one game in the second round, so they still have that overarching, like still can't.
They got that
playoff
1,000 pound
you know what I
silverback
mean?
gorilla on them still. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, no, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But that series would probably go 7. I think
And then they lose in overtime like they always do. And then we all laughed, and the kids laughed, and everyone laughed, and poor Steve Dangle.
Which they're going up against Linus Allmark too, so
he's going to be a big key in that series because they got a goalie that can match. They honestly, Ottawa may have a slight advantage in net for sure. We'll see there.
No, for sure. Like, look, I think Toronto should win this series, but again, like there's a lot of question marks. There's a few question marks here and there with that Toronto team. Like you mentioned, Matthews' health. He hasn't been healthy pretty much all year. Is Mitch Marner going to show up in the playoffs? Like last year he didn't have the best playoffs, so we'll see. And
more often than not, he really doesn't have that good of a playoff. Like if you look at his stats, like in series past, like it's a lot of the times it's been like William Nylander and Morgan Riley a little bit.
When the physicality picks up, Marner kind of turtles. Phenomenal regular season player, but he doesn't like being hit. It seems like.
Yeah, and look, you have Ottawa that's going into that series with like nothing to lose, right? Because at the end of the day, it's their first playoff appearance, and it's a young team. They got a couple of veterans, but like they're playing with house money because all the pressure's on Toronto, obviously. So that's why I think out of all the series that could possibly happen, that's the one that I have like on upset watch because man, like Ottawa. They got a good defense. They got some good, they got some good scores. Like, and like you said, Linus Allmark. If Allmark is on top of his game, he could win you at least 1 or 2 games.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
for sure.
And how confident, like Toronto, like I know they've had good seasons, like Wall and Stolarz had good seasons, but like how confident are you going into the playoffs with these two guys? Like so. All it takes is like 1 point of adversity, like, and like maybe one bad game for Toronto, and then all of a sudden panic starts to set in,
Yeah.
So we'll see.
1,000%.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to kind of circle back to the Caps and the Habs too, because I think, again, I think the Caps should win that series, but I think it's another series where, again, I don't think it's a lock. And I talked a little bit about why I think that earlier, but I forgot to mention, Logan Thompson, how is he going to be 100%? Because he's been kind of dealing with an injury a little bit. And again, I think, like you said, Eric, with the Sens, I mean, the Habs, again, right? They're a young team. They're playing with house money. Like, they have nothing to lose. So, I think both those series should be kind of earmarked as, not gimmies, but again, I think it's, there's certainly, those 2 series to me are probably the two series I think could wind up being upsets. I think the West probably not. I mean, maybe St. Louis, but no, I think both of those series are going to be great.
I think I agree with you when I say I think Montreal will be a tough out, assuming they get in. But if they get in, I think Montreal will be a tough out. They play a hard game. They have a really damn good first line. The depth. The issue with me with Montreal is I don't think they have the depth that Washington has. If they're going to win that series, I think Sam Montembeault needs to steal at least 1 or 2 games minimum. Or
I think he could very well do that. I mean,
he could. I'm not discrediting him. I think he's played very well this year. I think Montembeault has had a very respectable season in net. But I'm just saying, if they're going to win that series, he is going to have to steal the minimum of 1, maybe 2 games, I think. Because just Washington's depth is going to be a challenge. And I think Washington has a much better overall decor than Montreal. I think if you honestly ask, I think Montreal's a better first line than Washington. I will be honest with you. But I don't think I think the depth is going to play big into this, and I think Washington's defense and size will be big in this because Washington's got a pretty bulky team too. What I've seen.
No, they do.
So
100% they do. And I do kind of agree with you there. I think special teams is always important, but again, I think in this series especially because again with the way that the Habs power play is constructed now.
yeah,
And the way that it's been all year, I think if the Caps get into penalty trouble, I think that could be kind of.
I will give. I think Montreal's in a better power play than Washington. I'll agree with that.
I think and Montreal's PK is not bad either. So
Better
again,
than last year, that's
teams
for
will
sure.
definitely come into
Sanheim
it.
just missed tying it. Oh, the Flyers came this close to tying the game.
I do think the Caps are deeper, but again, I think there's certain guys in the Habs lineup that I think again like Demidov. I know he's so young, but with how skilled he is, I mean I think he could have an impact. Obviously, Lane Hudson's a huge X factor. I mean,
I'm curious. It's funny you mentioned Lane Hudson. I'm curious to see. Oh, that's a bad turnover. And he blew a tire off of absolutely nothing. That was weird. But anyway, I'm very curious to see how Lane Hudson responds to the pickup of pace and physicality. Because he is a smaller guy. And I'm not saying he's not going to respond. I'm more just, I want to see how he responds.
Right.
No, assuming they get into that position. Because the playoffs are different.
I will say this. I really don't think it's going to affect him as much as someone might think because, having one, and I know obviously the NCAA playoffs are different than the NHL, but in saying that, watching how he kind of stepped his game up there, I think again it'll be kind of a similar thing, in the NHL. I think he's a big game type player. I think he's the type of player that'll step his game up, when the lights get brighter, and I think he'll be just fine. I do. It will be interesting to see, how he does respond to the more physicality that will be in the NHL playoffs. But he's also so smart and so good on his skates. Like he avoids so many hits, it's not even funny.
You have
it might not look like he can see it coming, but he'll see it coming and just duck. So I think that's also to your point, Fern. I think that's a way that he can really combat that. That physicality, because I think he's so good at avoiding big hits like that. Again, I think he'll be just fine.
His skating is next tier. I will absolutely give him that. He's gonna win the Calder, barring a miracle at this point. So I think it's pretty much a lock. The only question is who's going to come between second and fourth. Who's going to be the rookie that's left out of that Calder race? But not to get into that right now. And then we mentioned Carolina, New Jersey. That's, I think, going to be a curb stomping. That just doesn't feel like it's going to be much.
Yeah, no.
I think Carolina, that is going to be the game that's going to be the series that ends in no more than 5. It's a fantastic situation for Carolina to be in because New Jersey's just, I think there's teams that are currently not in the playoffs that if they played New Jersey in the series right now would beat them, to be honest with you. But you're looking, and then that Florida Tampa Bay series, assuming it ends up being that, I wonder if Florida playing pretty much having back-to-back cup runs, if their fatigue ends up becoming an issue. Because that's a team that plays a very physical, wear you down, beat the tar out of you type of game. But that's a double-edged sword. You're going to get worn down from that eventually too. Is Florida's lengthy season fatigue going to eventually end up catching up to them? They're the defending champs, so you can't count them out. But
how, again, right? They're another team. Like, how close to 100% are they really going to be?
Exactly.
True.
Right?
Well, yeah, because what's Kachuk's situation? Like, is he even going to be 100%? Is he going to play in the first round? Is he even 100%? Because look, man, at the Four Nations, like he looked really bad. Like the guy couldn't even play. So, and it's a groin injury, right? So, well, we assume it's a groin injury, and like I don't know. Plus, you have Ekblad. That what he's only supposed to come back game 3, if I'm not mistaken. So, I don't know. That's one thing that really concerns me about the Panthers is the injuries. So, but then again, you know what? They're champs. So,
I got to stop you for 1 second, David. You're going in the timeout, man. No, don't be disrespectful, please.
I'm staying out of that one. But yeah, they and right now the Lightning are up 3-0 on the Panthers. I mean, this is a meaningless game for Florida. They know where they are. But I wonder, you know who I think is going to be a major impact in this series for Tampa is Jake Getzel. Like he has been the missing piece to that top 6 or replacement piece that they've needed. They look great. They look like a team that is going somewhere. I mean, he looks great. He looks like a guy that is going to help revitalize what Tampa is looking to do with their lengthy cup window. So I don't know. He looks like he's given that team a spark. They made the absolute right decision letting Stammer walk to Nashville.
oh yeah.
So because
No,
Stammer looks like he's lost a step and a half. But yeah.
Oh, we'll see. Look, Tampa's a very experienced team. They have, there's still a few guys from their cup winning teams, and they still got talent. And like, look, they added Yanni Gord and Bjorkstrand at the deadline. They really solidified that third line.
Mm-hmm.
And they still have a.
I like the
solid
Bjorkstrand ad. Now you mentioned him.
Yeah, he got hurt though, didn't he? I think he actually got hurt. Anyway,
Is he hurt right now?
I thought I heard he got hurt, but I can't be 100% sure. But also just Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky looks like he's back to prime Vasilevsky. So that could just be the difference maker for that series. So honestly, I think that series is one of those where I could I don't know, man. Like honestly, coin flip. But I'm kind of
that'll be the best series in the East, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning a little bit towards Tampa Bay.
I am too.
Because of Vasilevsky and the uncertainty of Matthew Tkachuk. It really?
I also think Florida is going to be fatigued too. It's having all that extra mileage on you. You can't discredit that. Like that's a real thing. It eventually caught up to Tampa, and it eventually will catch up to Florida too. So you wonder if that'll be the time it does happen. I think Florida has better depth. But as you mentioned, I'd take Vasilevsky over Bobrovsky. Not saying Bobrovsky's bad, but Vasilevsky has got more experience winning compared to him, 2 cups to 1. So, and he's been to 3 versus 2. So that Tampa team, they look like I was dead wrong about them. I said at the beginning of the year, my big bold prediction was Tampa was going to miss the playoffs because I didn't think Vasilevsky would become the Vasilevsky of old. I was dead wrong. That was my worst take of the year, in my opinion, was Tampa. But they just look good. They look like a team that's ready for a second half of a run. I hate to make this comp, but they look like they're the new Pittsburgh Penguins in terms of having a lengthy cup window. Like a team that's just not going to go away, a team that you think is going to go away, but that just won't. And Tampa, they proved me wrong. I don't think they're going to be gone anytime soon. I think they made the right moves to extend that cup window. They don't give a flying fuck about draft picks, although that they might want to watch out about Isaac Howard. That could be a thing. But that Tampa team, I've got to give them all the respect in the world. They look good right now. We don't mention that man's name in here. We don't mention him. We don't no. Yes, we know he's been on a tear. I don't need to think about him. But listen, if there's been one great thing about this Flyers season is when we kicked the ever-loving shit out of Anaheim on our live stream 6-0, and he went missing. There's that.
Just a quick question for you guys. Nikita Kucherov, okay? I heard this the other day, and it looks like he's gonna win the Art Ross because now he's up by 3 points. Okay, he's up by 3 points on McKinnon, so he might win the Art Ross. And there is like no Hart, like you never hear his name even considered in the Hart conversation. Like, you guys find that weird?
Yes, because I was on board with Kucherov winning the Hart last year. And no disrespect to McKinnon, I just think what Kucherov has done for that Tampa team, because I even saw the chinks in the armor of Stamkos last year. I thought he was showing the decline, and Kucherov was carrying him. And that just gives me that much more respect for Nikita Kucherov. The thing with that is people overvalue his defensive or lack thereof defensive ability, but he is such a machine on the offensive end. I don't like the fact that he gets discredited. So, I don't understand. I don't understand why he is looked at like that, but I don't know.
Yeah, because it's like, let's look at the stats here quick. Like, he currently has 119 points, and the closest guy to him would be Hagel at 90. So that's almost like 30-point discrepancy, like between the two guys, you know? Then you have like McKinnon, and you have Makar. Makar is actually the second best. So 116 to 92. Okay, so there is like almost a 30 points there too, close to it. But still, like, I just like Draisaitl's getting all kinds of love, and McKinnon is getting all kinds of love. And it's like I never hear Kucherov like mentioned at all. And the guy's gonna probably win the Art Ross again.
I think the reason why is because Connor Hellebuck is having such a big year in net. They're gonna include him in the Hart Trophy finalists. So if he wasn't there, he would probably be the third guy. But that's the thing. Like, he's the fourth guy in a really good Hart Trophy race. And if it was up to me, I'd put him in the top three. I would probably take Hellebuck out. No disrespect to Hellebuck, because I think when I think of unless if you're having a year like what Carey Price had in 2014 it was, a 15, or what Henrik Lundqvist had in 2012, a caliber of year like that, and I'm not taking anything away from Hellebuck because he's had a great year, but it's not to the extent of what those two did in those type of years. They were pushing a 930 save percentage. Hellebuck's around, I think, 924 right now. And both of those guys, I think, were under 2 goals against per game. And this is a good point right here. Hellebuck is a fraud in the playoffs. No disrespect to Hellebuck, but he does need to prove it in the playoffs. Although the Hart Trophy has no playoff merit in it, but he does need to prove it in the playoffs. I think that would get me more on board just because of that lingering after effect, you know? But I think Kucherov should be a finalist. Absolutely. I don't understand why he didn't get the love last year, too. I would have given him the Hart Trophy last year if it was up to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I just find it really weird.
What about you, Naughty? What do you think?
Well, before we go there, I just want to address the chat. David, please just calm down a little bit, buddy. We just ask that you be respectful in the chat. That's why you got put in
it PG. No disrespect. We're all good people here.
You're cool. We appreciate you being here. We love producing this content for you. We just ask that you be respectful in the chat, and
agreed.
For a while you weren't. So I mean, we had to put you in timeout, but it like I said, you're cool, man. Like it, but it's just have some respect in the chat. That's all.
Anyway, continuing.
Yeah. So on Tampa, I agree. I mean, Kucherov is again kind of put them on his back a little bit, just in terms of the points. I don't think Vazzy bouncing back to form has been very, very important for them. Yeah, I mean, Kucherov's just a monster. He's so good. Just such a fun play to watch.
Yeah, and that's what I hope Michkov eventually becomes, or something close as a comparable to that. That's who his game has been compared to. like Demidov has been more compared to Kaprizov, and that's a compliment to Demidov's game. It's great that we have Russian monsters, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I mean it is. I mean,
Actually, you know what?
it's
What's
funny that you put Michkov and and Kaprizov in the same sentence because Demidov killed their points records in the K for under 20 players.
I think Michkov would have did it too if he didn't have the pneumonia. It ended up costing him about like 20 games.
No, I very well could have.
But anyway.
But he didn't.
But it's going to be, I think.
No, the future of the
knew it
game
was
is
gonna
bright,
be
man. There's
effective
so many
Kaprizov.
awesome young players in the league now. It's phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Let's look at the West Series now. So I think we're all in agreement what we think is going to be the best Western Conference series in Colorado and Dallas. So we'll save that one for last, I think. Eric, let me lead it off with you. Which series is exciting you the most, aside from Colorado and Dallas? Because that one I think we can all agree is one.
I think that it would have to be Los Angeles Edmonton. Because, I think this is if I'm not mistaken, the fourth time in a row they're gonna meet.
Yeah, you're right.
And Edmonton has won all three. But Edmonton going into this year, into the playoffs with all their injuries and the lack of depth like they had from last year, I think Los Angeles wins it, not easily, but Los Angeles I think wins this one, and I think this one's gonna be like probably the most interesting because honestly, I'm looking at the wild card, and I'm like, I think no matter who makes it out of like Minnesota, St. Louis, or Calgary, I think Winnipeg or Vegas pretty much could maybe not easily win both those series, but like I don't see an upset in either one. So I would have to say that probably Edmonton and LA, and so that's it. LA I think is gonna try and fourth time's a charm, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully, and for us too, because we have that Edmonton first-round pick.
Oh yeah. Oh, that'd be so
Okay,
beautiful.
I want to mention something a little off topic real quick before we continue. I was looking through the scores in the NHL, and 2-0 Columbus. I want to mention a ridiculous statistical output right now. The Blackhawks Senators game. Chicago is currently winning this game 3-2, and the Sens are out shooting the Blackhawks. I want you guys to be ready for this. 29-6.
Oh shit.
And the Blackhawks are winning 3-2. That might be the most absurd stat line I've seen all year. 29-6. Wow.
Who's in nets?
I don't know. Although props to whoever's in net for Chicago. I think it's got to be Spencer Knight because he didn't play last night, did he?
Yeah, it's Spencer Knight is in nets for Chicago, and Anton Forsberg for Ottawa.
That's wild because Forsberg actually didn't play too bad of a game against us the other day.
It's you know what it is though. It's when you're not facing a lot of shots, it's like you get out of your game, man. Like it's not especially like 6 shots, 6 like.
I know. 6. That's just as absurd to me.
It's nuts. Come on. Like it's probably I don't know. I haven't seen the highlights, but he was probably like God knows he was like looking at the sky or something. He's like, oh shit, they're gonna shoot. Like, oh man, that's nuts. Like in Chicago. Ugh. But that Nazar kid looks actually really good.
I will say that if they make it, I mean, if there's one move Kent Hughes might regret would be that trade that led to the Nazar pick for Chicago because he looks like a stud.
He does look good. But
that's probably the one trade he probably looks back and be like, I shouldn't have did that.
I mean,
right now, I will say Flyers, I don't even think are playing that bad of a game. They're just running into a hot goalie. Shots are almost dead.
That was the Doc trade. So, I mean, like I said again,
yeah.
I mean, who knows, but.
That was
Yeah,
a Doc
I'm not
trade,
really
right?
that upset about it either. Like
No, I mean, at the time,
if that's
Doc's a
the one
former
thing,
number 3
like
overall pick.
again, like it's whatever. Like because again, you never know how those players will turn out.
Yeah.
When you draft them.
You're not going to hit on every trade either. So
No.
there's going to be
But
some
if that's
to
the
do
one,
that.
like the one trade that we'd look back on and kind of say, well, he didn't really do that well. Like again, I still don't think it was like horrible. Like you know what I mean? Like it
I don't
wasn't
think
a
it was
trade.
horrible either.
Like, at the end of the day, you took a chance on a 3rd overall pick. So
Yeah, again, early on in the rebuild, like you take that chance if you can do it.
No, it's
you
a
know?
risk.
So,
It's a risk, but you know what? And look, at the end of the day, look, maybe Doc won't be that number 2 center for you guys, but if he transitions to wing, I can give you some solid production on the wing. Like you guys are
I
flying.
can agree with
so,
that.
Like it's not like he's a bust or anything. Like you see, he has talent, Doc. It's just that he just can't fucking stay healthy.
I think he's more of a number 3 at this stage. Like, I think he's a 3rd line winger just because, and not all to his fault, but I think it's just the fact that he's had so much of his development time cut to injuries. It's going to be tough to seeing him amount to a 2nd line talent just because of that. But who knows? Oh, Flyers going to rush Sanheim and maybe new. But yeah, I will say about that is just Doc. I just hope the kid can stay healthy because I do feel bad for him.
yeah, and look, I've always kind of thought of him better on the wing anyway. But yeah, I mean that's really what it is. Like just stay healthy, and I still think, he could be a very productive winger. Because yeah, Eric, I agree. I think you make a good point. You can see the skill there. You can see the talent that he has. It's really just it's just the health. Because I think he's got good size too, and when he's feeling good, he uses it well. Yeah, I mean, and I think moving to the wing too will kind of help him a little bit health wise because he's not gonna it's less to do than a center, right? If that makes sense,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because
Well, yeah, because
it's a lot less wear and tear. Yeah,
less responsibility. Like I don't want to say play at a slower pace, but like you know what, like maybe it'll be less taxing on his body. So hopefully, so we'll see.
Yeah.
See what happens next season there when he comes back from injury. If he could, find his game again. And like I said, at the end of the day, like he's still part of the organization. He's still there. So and he brings something of value. So
Yeah. I think who do you, Naughty, if we're on the subject, who's your prediction for your 2C next year? Is it McTavish?
I mean, I think McTavish is probably the most likely option. I'd love that. I think very highly of Mason McTavish. I think he's a really good young center. I think he has a pretty good two-way game.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'd be a great compliment on that line. Obviously Demidov will play on the right, Lining on the left. Other than that, I mean, again, if they wanted to, if they believe like Michael Hayes is kind of the 2C of the future, maybe a guy like Jared McCann just in the short term. But again, for me, I would love Mason McTavish a lot. I'm more confident there because I do think Kent Hughes also is looking more longer term than shorter term.
Mm-hmm.
For me, McTavish, depending on what Sam Bennett does with Florida, that might be available. I highly doubt it. But if he ends up becoming available via trade, I think he'd be a great option too. But for me right now, it's Mason McTavish.
Yeah, I mean, and we're in the same position as you, looking for a center. And
you need multiple.
I think we're going to draft one. We got one in the pipeline, and we're going to acquire one. And I think at that point, I'll feel a little more comfortable. We also have Jack Berglund, who really hasn't been talked about enough. I mean, it's way too early to make a real assessment on him. But the point being, this team definitely needs at least two centers. And I think one of them is going to be drafted, and they're going to acquire one via trade or free agency, most likely. I think me and Eric are in agreement of the team. We just have different opinions on the player. He's more thinking Shane Wright. I'm thinking Matty Beniers. And honestly, I'd be happy with Shane Wright. That's a great consolation prize to me. Matty Beniers, I just think his two-way game and his playmaking abilities would fit very well with what we're trying to accomplish. And I think he'd be a team like Seattle who needs to accept that they need a rebuild, like a full-scale rebuild, and go tear some of these older guys down. Because they never did do that. They just drafted a bunch of older guys and went with it. So now 3 out of the 4 years of existence they've had, they're not going to make the playoffs. And I mean, they made the best decision of their life last year, getting rid of that pylon known as Dave Hackstall. You know how I feel about him. But yeah, I think Seattle is going to accept the fact that they need a rebuild. I mean, their older guys could get you something, but you're only going to get so much for those older guys. I think you're going to have to trade one of your younger core guys and try to accumulate a massive package for him, and then you can really push that forward. But we'll see.
Look, there's other teams that have like abundance of like young centers that could be available too, right? Because they have like mentioned them before, like even the Sabres technically, like they got a couple young kids in the pipeline, and like Noah Ostlund and Yuri Kulich and they drafted Konstas Helenius last year, so they got like young centers. Then the team we're playing right now, the Columbus. Look, they have Cole Sillinger, Ken Johnson, Adam Fantilli, Voronkov. Oh man, who's the one I like? Chinnikov. What's his name? I'm blanking right now. But anyway, point being is that there are teams that have an extra like centers available. So like, it's just, are they willing to trade them? That's the whole. The whole thing. Oh well, it's hard to make trades. Well, sometimes it is because you need a partner. You need someone like that's willing, that to trade you that center. And so we'll see. Look, I think we've mentioned this before. I think the biggest trade chip that we have is Cam York, because I think he's because you got you want to trade talent. You want to acquire talent. You got to trade talent.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think he's probably the one I could see them probably parting with. You've mentioned before Alex Tippett. I think if the right deal comes across the table, I don't think they'd be hesitant to trade Tippett. So but we'll see. We'll see what Danny Briere decides to do this offseason.
Yeah.
Because or else that's it. You got to build it through the draft. And if like I said before, like if worst case scenario, if we do end up like with the 7th or 8th pick, you got to hope to hell that like
it's not likely going to be that the way this game's going. If this holds stern, I think they're most likely going to end up losing this game, and they'll hopefully, for us at least, this game holds steady. We don't get any points today. They lock up no worse than 7. Bruins are currently down 4-3 right now, so that game isn't 100% over. We'll see. Sabres are down 1-0. So if they even snag a point, suddenly that game, I mean, the Sabres are no longer to be worried about, and they clinch no worse than the 6th pick. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I can't wait till draft time. You can start thinking about which guys are going to be more willing to make the move towards. But they got to go center.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. And I was saying, like, if we could use that draft capital and, like, let's say move, like I say, like if we're at 7 or 8 or whatever, and if we can move to 3 or 4, which I doubt they would trade it, but like, I don't know, because honestly, if we're at 7 and Higgins and Misa and Frandel are gone, like. Not that I think that O'Brien and Desnoyers will be bad players or anything, but they're not projected.
It's a tier below, yeah.
Exactly, and already that like your Hagen and your Frandel are not like projected. Again, these are all projections, and we don't know. At the end of the day, they could, God knows what could happen. But like if we just go on projection, it's like those guys. A lot of them are even not, maybe they might not be a 1C, they might be a 2C, so it's like you don't have that clear-cut number 1 like elite center available this year.
Oh, I think Frandell's going to be a 1C. I don't think he'll be like an elite 1C, but I think he's going to be a 1C. I think Misa as well. Hagen's, I'm a little more iffy on because of his size and lack of progression this year. We'll see. But I think Frendell is going to be a lock. Frendell reminds me so much of Sean Couturier in his prime. He really does. I think you're getting your next Couturier if you draft him.
But that's it. But that's what I'm saying. Is like if we miss out on these guys and we end up like with the set, like and picking at 7, like do you like let's say the best, like if you go best player available, like usually they always say you should always go best player available, right, in the draft. What if the best player available at that point is a winger?
I think the Bruins are getting Martone. If you want me,
I think that they're going to take the center.
But you mentioned best player available. I say that because the Bruins prospect pool is a barren wasteland right now. They have Fraser Minton. Yeah, everything is a barren wasteland right now in that prospect pool. I think Porter Matone has a higher ceiling than whoever, whether it be Hagens or Frendell. I think Martone is going to be an overall better player than the two guys I named. So that's why I think they look at this and go best available. I think Nashville goes center. I agree with that.
Oh, 100%.
And I think, obviously, Chicago is a lot to get Misa, assuming that no one moves up or down. So I think the Bruins, assuming they hold on to 4, end up getting Porter Matone. And then that leaves one of Frendell or Hagens at 5 for us, assuming we end up at 5.
Yeah, that would be ideal, but it's just that I can't put my faith in. Oh yeah, they're gonna take the center.
You underestimate Don Sweeney too. He might take Roger McQueen.
It's true. I'll give you that. He's pulled some wild ones before. So
they had 3 picks, 13, 14, 15. 2 turned into dog turds. 1 turned into a good player that they ended up letting walk in free agency.
One ended up being a good player that the team never liked and shipped out of town.
I know.
The one guy.
Poor Jake DeBrusk.
The one guy.
Poor Jake DeBrusk.
Like, what did he ever
Pray
do?
for my mans. He ain't do nothing wrong.
Like, this guy was single-handedly saving your draft. Oh, yeah, we missed on 2, but at least we got DeBrusk. And you shipped the guy out of town. Like,
he goes, yeah, no, I hate it here.
So now
I hate him.
That was hilarious. Do you know the dynasty they could have built with those picks?
I really don't.
Oh, man. Boston could have easily had at least 1 or 2 more cups if they don't fuck that draft up.
They should have won 2019.
Easy.
That's the one that I know they're sick about.
Oh my! Imagine like Barzal. Okay, you know what? David Krejci, you're retiring. Okay, it's okay because we got Mark Barzal. We got Mark Barzal to take your place. Like, nope, no, you don't.
Nope, not today.
You have Zaboral. You have I can't even pronounce the other guy's name. Session.
He's not even. Yeah, neither of them are in the organization anymore.
Oh man! Oh yeah, that was terrible. That was terrible.
But anyway, let's get back on topic a little bit. Vegas, they would be facing, as of today, Minnesota. While I think Minnesota is currently playing right now, and they're tied with the Ducks. I think if Minnesota gets even a point, yes, if they even get a point, they're locked into wild card 1. Because both Calgary and St. Louis cannot catch them in a tiebreaker. So if that game holds, it would be Minnesota versus Vegas, and they would lock in the playoffs. So let's just, for the sake of argument, assume that one would hold. How do you feel about that series?
I lean heavily towards Vegas. To be totally honest with you, I've never been the biggest Minnesota fan.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they're one of these tricky teams because, like, if they go into the playoffs 100% healthy with like Ek and Kaprizov and everything, and now they've added Ziv Buyam, so who knows what he's gonna do. But I just don't see them beating Vegas. No, I think it's not their time yet. I think they're still lack a little bit of depth and a little extra scoring. So I just don't see it. I can't see Minnesota doing anything. That one 5 or 6. Honestly, 5 or 6.
I think they're. I like Vegas to win that series, but I think Minnesota could give them a little bit of a battle. They're getting Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek back, which is 2 major pieces that they haven't had for quite some time. I will say, I think Brock Faber's taken a step back this year. I don't think that's been talked about enough. I don't think he's been as good as he was prior years. But I will say, Minnesota, they're going to have to win this series by outscoring Vegas, I think. Because Vegas has so much damn depth, it's not even funny. Like, Vegas's depth is arguably, in my opinion, the best in the league. Like, it's dumb how they just keep finding ways to produce talent through trades and even sneaking a few guys through the draft. Philip Gustafson is a very good goalie, but I don't know. He's going to have to, again, steal some games if they feel like they have any real hope. And at the same time, you look at what Vegas has in that they have a lot of reliability in Adin Hill, and he has shown it. And they're going to have to find ways to get under Adin Hill. They're going to have to find ways to get under his skin. I think Vegas wins that series in 6, but it's more of a comfortable 6. Like, it's not like a series that ever feels like it's in doubt. Like, it's a series that it's one of those series that's like 3-1. Minnesota gets one, but the games Vegas won, they kind of dominate. And the games Minnesota win, they kind of like eke them out. You know what I'm saying? Like, they outwork them. That's probably where I see that. But yeah, Minnesota is just a team that they probably can't wait for that Parise and Suter contracts to get off the books finally. And that finally happened for them this offseason. They're a team that could make some noise in free agency in the trade market for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's it. This offseason, if like Minnesota, that's it. That money will be freed up, plus the increase in the cap. They'll properly add to that team and get a little extra scoring, and then I think maybe next year they could start doing some damage. But like I said, with all the injuries that they've had this year, even though that like most of their players are back, I just don't. They're probably not 100% healthy either. So going into a series against Vegas, I just don't see it. Vegas has the like you said, they have all kinds of depth. They have, I think, one of the best decors in the league. Adin Hill, solid goalie. They won the cup a couple years back, so their experience. They went to a final. Like before that, I think no. I just don't think Minnesota stands a chance in the series.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. Nordy, what do you think about Vegas versus Minnesota? Hopefully he realizes Mike is muted.
No, I mean, Vegas should win that in probably 6 games.
I know that's your number 2 teams. That's why I asked.
Yeah, and honestly, that has nothing to do with it. I just think Vegas has much more experience. I think, I just think they're deeper. And yeah, like you guys said, I think Minnesota is dealing with some injuries kind of down the stretch here. So yeah, I like Vegas in that series. I think Vegas could probably make a pretty deep run too. And I think they're built in a way that they can do that. And again, with that playoff experience that they do have, we'll see.
One thing to mention with Minnesota, their biggest weakness is I do not rely on them at the 2C spot. I think Vegas kills them there. I think that depth is going to be a massive difference in the series as well. And then we already talked about Edmonton and the Kings. Winnipeg versus, for the sake of argument, let's say St. Louis. If Calgary catches them, obviously. What about that series? That series, I think, could be interesting because St. Louis, just not too long ago, had a 12-game win streak. They're riding the high of a new coach, Jim Montgomery. They're one of the pleasant surprises in the NHL this year because I thought that team was going to consider going full-scale fire sale because I thought that was an older team that was looking to go on the way out. There was talks about moving Braden Shen even before the season began, leading into the deadline. He's their captain. He's still there. And, you got to give it to them. They have looked like one of the best teams since the Four Nations break ended. So what do you think of that series?
I think like St. Louis, great story, what they've been doing, like the past like month or so and everything, their win streak and since the deadline and everything. I love the moves that they made in the offseason with the
Aiken does
Broberg
not
and
like
Holloway
the
offer
move.
sheets. The thing is that they're still, I find the Blues are still a team in transition. Like they're making a lot of the moves like you got Robert Thomas and Kyrou, that's like a good little foundation. Now they added Now Holloway getting hurt really, really hurts the Blues. I think that's a huge, huge, huge loss because he was playing super well this year, and he was a big reason why like they were starting to have a lot of success towards the end of the season. But now so
1,000%.
losing him, that really hurts. But yeah, no, I think like they're not. I don't think they're ready to take that next step yet. But I really like what St. Louis is doing.
Yeah.
So I still think Winnipeg takes this series. I think it's going to be a fun series. I think like St. Louis is going to put a little scare into Winnipeg, but I think in the end, Winnipeg is probably going to take that series. I think they're more experienced. They're Hellebuck, hell of a goalie. But now look, Bennington won the Four Nations for Canada, man. He had a hell of a game, so
Yeah.
you can't count him out either. So we'll see. I'm concerned a little bit about Winnipeg's depth at center after I don't think they have a true 2C. But we'll see. Now actually they lost Ehlers. Winnipeg lost Ehlers. He got hurt.
Yeah, that's a
last night.
significant loss for sure.
So that's gonna hurt.
That's a top six winger right there.
Exactly. So that maybe counterbalances the loss of Holloway for St. Louis. So, but I still think that Winnipeg should, not easily, but will win this series in the end. I could see that one maybe going 7 games.
I'll say this about St. Louis and Winnipeg. St. Louis does kind of have that they kind of like Nashville of last year, that they got hot, they rode the coats of that hot streak to get in, but is that really them?
Exactly.
The loss of Holloway is going to be massive for sure. And while we're on the subject real quick, Edmonton, you are so stupid for all the players that you let walk this year. Holloway, Broberg, Vogel, McLeod, all these guys having success elsewhere. I don't understand what Edmonton is doing, and that's a reason why I think the Kings are going to curb stomp them in 5 games this year. But besides the point, St. Louis, though, I think their lack of depth could be concerning. And we know how streaky Binnington can be. If you get into his head, he can be a complete head case and completely collapse both on the ice and off the ice. So I depends what Binnington you get. Are you gonna get, if you can get 2019 Binnington, then it's absolutely serious. But that's a tall ask to ask for. I do think Winnipeg wins this, but I do think it's going to be a grind. I'm going to go 7 games because I do not think that Winnipeg is as good as their record shows. I think whoever wins that Colorado-Dallas series in the second round ends up beating them in the second round, but we'll see. Hellebuck also needs to show it in the playoffs because he was a fucking puddle last year against Colorado. That can't happen again, because if that happens again, you pretty much turn into the pre-Cup Braden Holtby of the Winnipeg Jets. A guy who just couldn't friggin' step up when the playoffs mattered the most. You can't keep doing that. So he must get rid of those demons this year.
Yeah, Hellebuck's playoff numbers are really weird because I'm looking at them right now. Last year, he had a 5.23 goals against average and an 870 save percentage. That is god awful. The year before that, 3.44 and an 886. Again, not great. But then you look at all the years before that, he's putting up a 931, 904, 913, 922, like 223, 304, 929, 267, 236. Like he's like, I don't know what happened the last couple years that like he's just like turned into a pumpkin pretty much in the playoffs. Like, I don't know.
I think it's mental. I really do. I think it's mental with him. Like when the playoffs get here, I think he just starts overthinking shit. Like, oh
So,
crap, I got to make this save. And he starts thinking he needs to do too much, and he doesn't look comfortable in net because of the moment, and he feels all this pressure on him. So I think if he can have a really good first series and get that silverback gorilla off of him, maybe he can build off of it. But he always just doesn't look like his normal, comfortable self when the playoffs.
yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what he could do in the playoffs this year. Like, I like the Jets. Look, I think that they could. I don't think. I honestly don't think they're a real cup contender. Again, my biggest issue. I love them. Like, they have great wingers. I think their defense is solid, and obviously Hellebuck. But it's just that center depth really scares me. And like we were just talking about, like, is Hellebuck gonna be that guy in the playoffs? Because the last 2 seasons he hasn't been. So
Fair.
so now look, a hot goalie can win you a cup. So if he plays out of his mind these playoffs, then yeah, I look, Winnipeg just has as much of a chance as anybody else. But again, it's one of those teams like if. So we'll see.
Fair. What about you, Naughty?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the thing with we're on the Winnipeg, right? So I was watching.
Yeah, Winnipeg and St. Louis. Assuming St. Louis gets there. We're just going
The thing
with
with
the team.
Winnipeg is can Connor Hellebuck keep the regular season form in the playoffs? I think that's the big thing.
Mhm.
You know, other than that, I don't really see a lot of weaknesses on that Winnipeg team.
Well, we're gonna say
you know,
the Blues are gonna get it because they're up 4-0 in the first period.
Yeah.
So goodbye, Calgary.
And I agree with Eric. I think not having Dylan Holloway's kind of a nail in the coffin for the Blues. I think, they might be able to squeak a game, but I don't think so. This might be the one series I can see maybe going like 5. I do. Because again, I just think, unless Binnington stands on his head and steals a game, but yeah, I just think going into it, I think that Holloway injury is going to be a lot to overcome, and I don't think the Blues have enough to stay with Winnipeg for.
They definitely don't have the depth they have for sure.
Right.
The only big weakness of Winnipeg is I don't think they have a second line center. We brought this up, I feel like, a few weeks ago. They don't have a second line center. That's their biggest hole. And that's things that Colorado and Dallas have, is that elite depth down the middle that Winnipeg does not. Now, Winnipeg has the best goalie statistically in the world right now, but he needs to show it in the playoffs. So we'll see. But it's not like Colorado and Dallas have scrubs in net either. You have Jake Ottinger and the revitalized Mackenzie Blackwood, which is words I never thought I'd say when he was in New Jersey. But
yeah.
I have no I used to have those Mackenzie Blackwood arguments with he who shall not be named all the time. Oh, here's a chance for the Flyers, and Forster gets robbed. Oh, he almost took the goal scoring lead. He had a one-on-one with the goalie, and he got stuffed.
Oh man. But actually, just talking about Winnipeg and their center position, this actually, it's something that I find not weird. Anyway? I don't know if you've heard like a lot of the talk about like Gabe Vilardi to the Flyers. Okay. And this is one of those things that kind of bothers me about like when people want like, because look, Gabe Vilardi was a center.
Yeah.
Okay, he was. He was drafted, I think, coming out. He was drafted as a center. But the thing is, in LA. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but in LA, I don't ever remember him playing center. He was always primarily on the wing.
I think you're
and
right.
In Winnipeg, he's primarily been on the wing. And now you have a team in Winnipeg that is desperately looking for a 2C. So now they could have easily moved this guy to the number 2 spot.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that's why when I hear like, let's offer Guy Vilardi or let's trade for Guy Vilardi, what bothers me about that is like, I don't want to trade for a guy that's a winger, that's pretty much been a winger and hoping to hell that he could play center because he has in the past. So like that's why like sorry that I'm bringing but sorry
No,
everybody that
that's
I'm bringing
fine.
back to the Flyers, but like this could go for the Canadiens too. Like you know what? And the Canadiens is actually are a perfect example. And I think I brought this up before. They traded for Jonathan Drouin, who was a winger, in hopes that he could become a center, but like it didn't pan out. And especially for a team like the Flyers or even like the Canadiens, like in this offseason, you desperately like Montreal desperately needs a 2C, and we just desperately need a center. Like regardless,
Yeah,
we
no
just desperately
shit.
need a center. So do you really want to give up the assets that it would take to trade for a Gabe Velarde and then have an experiment of him at center, and then like if he doesn't pan out, then what? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know. I don't think we've ever mentioned really ever mentioned him on our pod, but I've been hearing his name a lot more recently. And I'm like, I don't know how comfortable I would be trading for the guy or even offer sheeting him and then finding out that he can't play center.
To be honest with you, if I'm going after anyone on Winnipeg, it's Cole Perfetti. Honestly, I think that's the guy they're hopefully banking on to. What does he play? A mixture of center and wing? Is he a center or a wing?
See,
I think he's a center,
they
right?
tried him. They put him at center to start the season. I remember 100%. They put Cole Perfetti at the 2C position. It just wasn't working out, and now he's transitioned to wing. So I think now though he's primarily playing wing. I could be wrong. I'm not 100%. I could check that out like now.
Yeah.
But
that would be an interesting name to look at. And I think that's what Winnipeg is probably eventually hoping, that he transitions over to a wing. I mean, back to the center spot. Because he's a young kid. He's only 23. And he's on, I think he's got 49 points this year. I just looked it up real quick. I think he's got 49 points and he hasn't missed a game. I think 18 goals, 31 assists is what his statistical output is. So that's second line production, or just about. So yeah, I wonder if that's their long-term plans down the middle. I don't think he's likely to be moved, but I do wonder if that's what Winnipeg is hopefully looking for, is for him down the middle.
Yeah, well, right now they're he's playing wing right now, Perfetti.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Flyers, I don't think are playing that bad of a game against Columbus from what I've watched. They just haven't been able to bury one. Jack Greaves is just standing on his head. Columbus may have found a goalie there with this kid. I don't even know who this dude was before this season.
Yeah, me neither. It's like who's winning these games?
Journeyman. Oh, and as it right on cue, Nick Seeler gets robbed on a wraparound. Wow, I thought he just buried that. The Flyers' fourth line is putting on some pressure. Yeah, 24 shots on net. It's not like they're not getting bids. They're just not burying any.
Yeah, work on that, please.
Like I said, you're going to probably have to earn it yourself.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like, Matt.
We gave you help with the Island Rangers.
Tomorrow.
There's only 13 minutes. We're still down 2.
Oh, see what happens when the fourth line doesn't score. We can't win games.
Exactly.
That's the problem. Nick Delory didn't have a goal today.
He's up to 2.
2 goals. Yeah.
He's in a battle with Pat Maroon for the best goal-scoring friggin' goon in the NHL. No, I can't call Patty Maroon a goon. He's awesome.
No.
The big rig. He's all respect in the world for Patty Maroon. Happy retirement to him. I hope he has a successful post-NHL life. Great dude. He's a character for sure. Even Nick Delory, I have no ill will against him. He's not part of the rebuild. So
and like you could tell with Delory, he's lost a step. He's not.
Oh yeah.
He's
I'd like to see them try to move him in his $1.8 million cap hit. He has a no movement clause, and I have no idea why.
No, I don't think I don't think he has the no move anymore. I think the no move was only for the first 2 years of that contract.
Oh, so he couldn't get traded this offseason?
If I'm not mistaken, he can be traded.
Let me look that up. I'm actually genuinely curious about that because I did not know that.
Remember, it was the first 2 years of the contract that had a no move.
I thought it
Or
was
like,
for the whole entirety.
no,
You might be right, though. Hold on.
yeah, because right now on
Yes, you are. He
Media-
can be moved.
yeah, yeah. There's
Oh,
no
that's a contract I'm looking to move this offseason. No disrespect to Delorier, but maybe to a team that's just looking for a bruiser to defend one another.
But then again, like the 1.7 is not really gonna kill you if he's like
No,
your
it's
13 or your
not. But
14.
when you're looking to sign up some of these RFAs, you want to have as much money to work with as possible to make any other move down the line that it sounds like they're going to try to make. So we'll see. And how many series? What is that? All the series? Did we go over them all?
I think we did, yeah.
All right.
Pretty sure.
Nordy, would you like to touch on what happened last night in Montreal? Because I know that was a subject you wanted to touch on.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I'm not, I'm not arguing that the goal went in. I mean, it obviously did. Like, I think anybody could tell that. Like, to me, it's just that ruling. Like, I know during games, like during the run of play, if something like that were to happen, right, and then say obviously if the puck got stuck in the net, they'd notice, but.
Yeah.
Like, say, I know a lot of times, sometimes, like, it's hard to tell when those, those shots get ripped off that back top bar.
Yeah.
I know if something like that happens and then they blow the horn to go look at it, after X amount of minutes, if they say, oh, no, like a goal was scored here, they reset the clock back to when the goal went in and then they replay.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't that carry over to the shootout? Because the ruling, is, the way it's written is kind of, looks to be meant like it's applied to both. So, like, my thing is, why wasn't Laine allowed to reshoot?
Yeah, I guess that would be the best
that's
argument.
The thing, right?
As you can see here, no rules 78.5 and 37. Once the shootout is ruled a no goal and the next shooter takes the attempt, the play is considered dead. So here's what I heard. Elliot Freeman brought this up today on 32 Thoughts. They made the ruling apparently of a good goal prior to Laine shooting it, and it did not get to the officials, I guess, in time before the Laine shot was taken. Let me see if I can find it on Twitter real quick, because I remember him saying...
No, I did see something about that. And that being said, though, still, again, even though it the situation ruled it a goal. I mean, if it wasn't communicated to the officials,
All right,
again,
so here's what it says. Hold on one second. Here's what it says. I'm in Toronto's Situation Room tonight, getting a look at the process before the playoffs. In terms of the Chicago-Montreal shootout, the person here watching the game notified the penalty box before Laine's attempt that Nazar scored. Laine went before on-ice officials could be told, and that's how it went down. So because of that, I think that's why they went with the ruling that they just didn't communicate it to the officials in time. So I guess when you put it in that perspective, it makes a little more sense. But I think worst case, you can't count that as a no goal. At worst case, like you mentioned, Laine gets another bid at it, maybe.
And like I said, I'm not arguing to take the goal off.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is, well, it's written in the rules that
I think it's just the fact, like I said, that they got the call off to the penalty box before the shot was taken. I think if they didn't get that call off, it may have been a different story, and it might be more leeway to stand on. I don't think they got it to the officials in the time in between that. So then hear me out then. Why
because they have a button that turns a red light on.
Yeah.
Not the goal light, but it's in the box when they have a review thing. Why wasn't that turned on immediately when they got the?
Maybe it was literal. Maybe they felt it would have been a distraction to Line at the time, and they didn't want him to with his shot because maybe they got
okay,
it. Like
but again, though, then right? If this, so now we're talking. This was like right, probably as Line was getting ready to gather the puck. So
yeah,
again,
or something close to that.
Why did it take that long? If it was under review, why didn't they stop the play immediately? If something if somebody in the situation
that I agree
go in, why didn't they stop immediately and say, "Come over here and look at this"? It went in, right? That's what I don't get.
They should have blown the whistle, even if it was a mid-shot, like mid-skate attempt. That I will absolutely agree with you there. They should have.
That's what I'm talking. You know what I mean?
Flyers are getting power play, by the way.
You see, I think the misunderstanding is that the play technically wasn't under review because the refs weren't reviewing the play. Like you said in Elliott's tweet,
right.
is that
and so then in that, but again, in that case, right? So their call on the ice was no goal. If they didn't go to review that, according to the rule, once Line starts his shot, they can't change it.
No, but that's it.
But the way the rule, I'm just saying the way that the rule is written, they can't change it.
Yeah, but exactly.
Now again, if that communication,
hold on, Norty, give him a chance to talk. Give him a chance.
What Friedman said was that even before Line shot, Toronto sent the message to not to the refs because the refs aren't reviewing it. Toronto sent the message to the guys in the box, basically saying, no, that was a goal, count it. So that's it. So technically, the refs weren't reviewing it, but the message was sent before Line shot. So basically, the scorekeeper would have had it marked as goal before Line even shot the puck. Yeah. And I think that's where the confusion
I get that,
was.
but at that point, once they get that message, they got to stop playing, pull the officials over, right? And again, I understand maybe it was when Line was skating up to gather the puck. I don't know that, but again, if they knew it was in, like it shouldn't have taken it because there was at least 30 seconds, 15, 20 seconds from before Line got, from Line getting on the ice and getting ready. Like, how do you not turn the light on in the penalty box and call the refs over and say, "Hey, wait a minute, there was a goal there. You need to change this." Like that's what I'm trying to get at, right? Like I totally on board. Yes, there was a message sent that Nazar did score, absolutely, but you have to communicate that to the officials so they can make an on-ice call. Because at that point, only the guys in the penalty box knew. Neither benches knew. Neither coaches knew. Like,
well, Nazar knew.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, you have to communicate that.
It was a really weird situation. It was
and it was. And like I said, I in real time, I didn't even see where the puck went, like, because it was so quick. The replays, obviously, yes, I saw it go in. Like, the other thing is, I don't know how neither ref on the red line, on the goal line, missed seeing that go in. Or at least didn't skate over.
That's another thing. I don't know.
They didn't pop that out until after
the third guy was shooting. Yeah,
in the net for at least a couple of minutes.
That thing was in the net until I don't remember who that Chicago's second shooter was, but he was about to wind up, and that's when they blew everything aside. And Gallagher went over to talk to the officials about everything. And
again,
another weird thing,
nothing was communicated to the benches, so he's going, "Hey, what are we looking at? What's going on?" Like,
another weird thing about that, as I mentioned in our chat, I was watching this through the Blackhawks feed. On theirs, they counted it as a goal, and they were just confused about what was going on. So that made me think, oh, maybe they did count it as a goal, and there was just some level of miscommunication. Because I was trying to look for the video on the feed, and then I tried screen sharing it, but I noticed ESPN Plus doesn't like that when I tried doing it. It kept kicking me out. But if you look back and watch on ESPN Plus the replay of it and watch the shootout attempt, the Blackhawks feed counted it as a goal before any of this went to shit. So that's why I got a little confused as well.
Right, and then like the Amazon feed
on another feed.
On the Amazon feed, the way that they were commentated it, they thought that Montembeault made the save, or at least at very least got over and the puck hit him, went out of play. Like they didn't know, like they didn't know. and again, because it happened so quick, I mean,
Yeah.
you can miss that. So again, I'm not faulting the guys in the booth, but
No, of course.
again, they didn't know, and then on the Amazon feed, it was a no goal, and now
Mhm.
we know from Marty St. Louis that it was called no goal on the ice.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
don't
it's
know.
Like I
just
said,
a
it was
weird
such a strange
situation. It's just
situation.
again, my issue isn't that he scored. Like absolutely he scored. I have no problem there. But it's just that the rule and was it applied as it was written? Was it like what or what could I guess be done better? Because I think the rule is a
That's
little bit
probably a
vague.
better way to look at it. How could
Mm.
they avoid this in the future? Like,
But
what would
I
you
also
do
think
here?
right with the way the rule is written, it should have been waved off. And again, if that isn't the case, like update the rule or do something because again, that's just my thing, right? Like,
You
I
get
don't, I don't care
the
that he
thing
scored. I'm
is,
not
I'm
arguing that.
glad they counted the goal and didn't end up changing because if they didn't count the goal, there would have been some anarchy in the NHL world too.
There would have been, but again, right? If you look at the way the rule's written,
Yeah,
I mean, it's the
no,
way the
I
rule's
understand
written.
that, but then that would have just been looked at as gross incompetence. That you fuck that up to that degree, especially in a playoff race of this caliber. Would have been technically the correct rule called, yes, but that would have been
Right.
more towards gross incompetence, and this game's over 3-0 Columbus.
Yeah.
And the Bruins are tied at 4 now with the Devils with 9 minutes to go.
Yes.
We might be getting the 4th pick if this keeps up. But
How
it's
much
looking
time
like Columbus is winning this game. Flyers just can't solve Greaves. He's stopping everything tonight. This 28 shots. It's not the lack of trying. They're just not getting anything by this guy. He's been great.
Yeah. Oh, well.
That didn't even hit Fantilli. Fantilli didn't even shoot that. It just hit his skate and went in.
Yeah. But
Yeah, no kicking motion. Now it's just deflected off his skate. That's a good goal.
yeah.
But
back to the back to the whole shootout thing. Yeah, like I said, for me, it's just a matter of why wasn't there communication from the penalty box to the officials before Laine shot? If they knew, unless it was right as he was
well, they
gathering.
didn't know. That was the thing. The officials didn't get given
But
the notice.
so this
with
is
the penalty
that's
box
what I
guys.
mean. When exactly did the penalty box get the message? Because if
That's a
again,
question
it's
to
one
be
thing
asked.
if Laine was in the process of picking the gathering the puck at center ice to shoot. But if it was while he was, getting off the bench and kind of, doing the kind of, skating in circles to kind of warm up a little bit, why weren't the officials called over to communicate that?
Yeah.
Because, again, it's just a weird thing. But again, right, the way the rules are written, technically they didn't get the call right. Again, I don't really care that the goal stood. But my thing is, there's got to be a better way to interpret that rule because
I agree with that.
Like-
It needs to be handled better in the future, and so this doesn't
Right.
happen again. That I'll definitely agree with you on. But like I said, if they ended up going with by the rule, even if it was the rule, that's how you cause anarchy. So I'm glad they at least counted.
no,
the
and
goal.
I get that.
They could have handled the aftermath of the Laine shot better. Maybe that
That's
I can't
right.
agree.
Like I said, okay, whatever, count the goal, that's fine. But let Laine reshoot because now the on ice call has been changed, so now you got to go back, right? That's what I'm saying. Like if you're gonna count the goal, fine. But in that case, then Laine should have gotten to reshoot because at that point in time, with what the on ice officials knew, what the benches knew, what he knew is that it was nothing. So you're then changing the history of the shootout when you go back and you say, yes, he did score. And again, we all saw the puck go in, like he did score, but on ice, it was called no goal. Yeah. So again, by the writing of the rule, Laine should have gotten a reshot. So again, it's you got to pick which way you want to interpret the rule, and you got to make sure that it's interpreted correctly. Like I think if you're gonna count the goal, which again I'm fine with, Laine should have got a new shot. He should have been allowed to reshoot. But again, again, no one really knows the rules anymore, right? And again, it goes to I don't know how the refs didn't see the puck go in. That's the other.
Do you
big problem.
think Marty St. Louis would have sent out Laine still as his first shooter if he knew it was a goal?
Second shooter? No.
No, that was his first shot. That was his first shooter.
His first shooter was Caulfield.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. That's right. Because Chicago shot second. My apologies. So you think Suzuki would have won second?
Yes, without a doubt.
All right.
I mean, again, who knows if Suzuki would have scored on? But again, right? That's the other thing. It plays into strategy. Like, if you're going into that second shot and it's nothing, all right, whatever. But if you're down a goal, right, and you need this extra point to clinch the playoffs, you're gonna put your best, your best puck handlers, shooters out there. And yeah, Laine's obviously one of the best shooters, but not the best puck handler. Like, I think Suzuki would have went there, and then after that, I mean, you could take your pick, right? If it goes to a third shot, I mean, you could throw Hudson out there, you could throw Demidov out there. I think Demidov would have gone out at some point. But yeah, no, again, it's just my issue is just with which rule are they choosing to go with? Why wasn't there sufficient communication? Is the other big issue, because again, it's one thing for the message to go down there, but that needs to be communicated to the on-ice officials, right? I think that's one of the other very important, I think, blunders that happened there. Is there was just no communication, and again, if they got it right when Laine was gathering the puck, that's one thing. They don't want to stop his shot, but if that's the case, let him shoot again, right? If you're going to count the goal. If not,
that's the part I can say that you have a good argument on. That's a fair argument,
right? And then again, right? If they got the message, and again, Laine was just stepping on the ice, well, then call the officials over and say, "Hey, wait a minute, we got to change this."
I think the better thing is we need to know when they found out. If it was mid-shot,
that's what I mean. I want to, because that again, that's critical information.
Yeah,
it shouldn't have gone again, and it shouldn't have gone to a shootout, but again, it's just the interpretation of the rules, and again, I don't know how the refs didn't see that puck go in the first place. Excuse me, but I don't know. It's just a really weird situation all around.
I don't know. Do you guys listen to? I don't know. I was listening today at to Daily Face Off, like Frank Saravalli's Daily Pod there, and he said something that was really weird. And like, look, I don't know. Like, again, I'm not gonna question what he says, and I don't know if like someone from the league called him and said, no, say this because we're like we have egg on our face right now. But basically, he said on his Daily Pod today is basically that after Nazar's shot, the reason why the goal counted and all this blah 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 whatever is because the officials never actually made a call on the ice. Is that they never actually called no goal, and so again, I watched it. I don't remember.
Okay, so then if they never made a call on the ice, why was the shootout able to continue?
Exactly. So my
that doesn't make sense to me either, right?
That makes it worse, I think, if anything.
Way worse. I mean, that to me tells me those officials all need to be fired.
I'm listening to this. I'm like, okay, but then
that's just straight up incompetence at that point. How do you let the shootout continue if you don't know what the fuck happened? Right?
If you don't know, why did you let Laine shoot?
No, I mean, come on, like seriously.
No, I don't blame you. I'm just saying it's funny.
Stuck in the back of the net during the game and letting them play because you don't know what happened. Oh, there's 2 seconds left. Oh, by the way, a goal got scored 10 minutes ago. We're gonna count it. It's like, what the fuck?
Like I said, I said this in the chat the other day, earlier today. It kind of reminds me of in the NBA when you hit a 3 and they call it back to a 2 like 5 minutes later because they realize that foot's on the line or some shit. But,
right.
Yeah, no. Like the only thing I was thinking of, like, did like the officials not know? They weren't sure. So like, okay, well, Toronto's gonna check, but while they check here, Laine go shoot. Like that makes no fucking sense.
But again, that doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense.
That makes Saravalli look worse than that.
Go review it.
That's what it was.
Because again,
well, not Saravalli, but his report, I should say.
Yeah, it was like, when I heard that today, I'm like, what?
I think Elliot Friedman's description was a little bit better, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Speaking of Saravalli, was anyone not crazy about the fact that he brought up the Logan Couture pretty much retirement announcement before the player could?
Yeah.
Did you guys hear about that? So it sounds like Logan Couture is not going to be able to continue his career due to injuries. So he's going to be announcing a retirement, I believe, tomorrow. And I don't like the fact that Saravelli came out and kind of stole the guy's thunder. Like, let Logan say that. Like, it's the player's moment to come out and say that in his terms and, not have his thunder stolen. It's his moment. I don't like when reporters steal these retirement moments from players like that. We and you can speculate exactly what an interview or something like that, or a press conference, they're going to call for of that magnitude in the middle of or late stages of the season could be. But let the player decide if it wants to be said. Unless if Couture told Saravelli that, hey, listen, you can come out and say this if you want. I'd rather have it said by a third party than myself. That's different. But it doesn't look like that is the case because a lot of people were coming at Saravelli saying, like, why are you saying this? Let the guy say it under his own terms and let him come out to the public and announce it when he feels ready. I didn't like that personally.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, no, for sure.
100% agree. I'm sorry. I'm still just pissed off that the refs actually didn't know what the hell happened. No, I'm sorry. Like, how are you an NHL ref if you can't make a call there?
Honestly, I'm like, but how did you not know where the puck went? Like, I'm like, there's a
That's what I mean. Like,
there's a net on top of the glass. Like, the puck must have went.
That's the worst part
like,
of it.
I could see, like, I missed it in real time. But you're both behind the net. You couldn't skate up to the net and go, what's that little black disc stuck between the post and the netting? I wonder where. Oh, that's the puck. Oh,
you mean that isn't a burger that someone dropped from the balcony?
But the fact that they didn't make a call and let Line shoot, like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Because now you just burnt another shot, for the Habs, and you don't know. Like, I don't know. That just irks the crap out of me. I'm sorry.
No,
that's just straight up incompetence. Like, I'll say it. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, if you don't know where the puck went, like, and you think it went out of play, like what else do you call it?
Yeah.
Like, or stop the shootout. Don't let the fucking guys shoot until you know what's going on. Like, that to me is really egregious. The fact that they didn't know what was going on and they still let the shootout continue is mind-boggling. Like that.
Yeah, honestly,
it's just there's no words. Like, how can you do that? How can you let that continue when you have no idea what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's it. It was just handled really poorly. Even if they didn't know, like, okay, well, we'll just wait and see, just go shoot. Like, no, you can't do that. Like, that's not how it works. Like,
no, but and again, especially with how tight the playoff race is in a game with the team, like, right, the Canadiens who, needed that extra point to clinch. Like, you're gonna just forget how to call hockey games. Like, I don't know. That just pisses me off beyond belief. Like, Eric, I love you, but that really, really set me off.
Oh no!
Like,
look, I have no. I find it was a weird, stupid situation. Like this is why. Again, and a lot of people have brought this up before. This is why sometimes the refs should have to answer after games.
No, I agree. I'm sorry.
Come out and say and explain yourself.
That's ridiculous.
Like, what happened? Because now you have a bunch of you have fans on the internet. You have guys like us talking about this stuff and making them look like morons. Like, just constantly.
I mean, they are like
at least,
but it goes beyond being a moron because, again, how can you let the play continue when you have no idea where that puck just went?
Exactly. So come out and explain yourself.
Like, I get it. It was late. I don't know. Maybe they wanted to get the hell out of Dodge. I don't know. But this late in the season, make sure you get it right. Like, I don't care if they call the review for a couple of minutes just to see where the puck went. I mean, it wouldn't have lasted long because they would have seen it go in, whatever. But call a review. I don't think anybody would have cared if they took a minute or so to look at it.
Yeah.
The NHL, it should be easy, right? Like, you shouldn't say, "Oh, we don't know where the puck went." You can shoot, Patrick. Like,
all right, gentlemen.
It's ridiculous.
Do we have any final thoughts before we want to wrap things up with the game officially going final?
I think I'm good.
Naughty?
I'm good. I need my blood pressure to go down.
Yeah, I know. I just had my physical today, I still got the poke thing in me from all the blood work that they did on me. So I had to watch my shit just in general today. Off topic discussion.
I got some Nordy. I got you, man. I got some blood pressure pills. I'll shoot you a couple.
Jesus Christ. All right,
Yay,
ladies
Nordy.
and gentlemen.
Yay.
With that being said, that's going to wrap up this episode. Let us know what you think in the comments about any of the playoff talk, about the Montreal-Chicago shootout episode that happened, about anything else you might want to talk about. Who's your potential cup team? What matchup are you most excited about? Who's your biggest, contender? Who's some of the pretenders you think? What's some players you're even watching at? Give us anything you want to talk about in the comments. We'll be more than happy to talk about it and assist. But that's all for today's live stream. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great night, everyone. And with that being said, tune in for our playoff talk that we will be having as the season goes on. But with that being said, take care, everyone.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. We greatly appreciate y'all.
Facts.
Eric, Fern, thank you guys for being on. Love you guys.